City of Stevens Point Common Council meeting, recorded August 18, 2025.
And I have 7 o'clock. We will call the regular meeting of the Common Council to order. Clerk, could I please get a roll call?
Christensen?
Here.
Guthrie?
Here.
Keemer?
Here.
Broderick?
Here.
Burr?
Here.
Steinmetz?
Here.
Kneebone?
Here.
Shuda?
Here.
Lang?
Here.
Uzi?
Here.
And Morrow.
Here.
And everyone is present. Please join me for our salute to the flag.
Can't get up that fast.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much for joining us this evening. We have a pretty lengthy agenda. I do want to point out that item number 6 has been postponed until September. We will see the presentation of the 2025 annual assessment report at our September meeting. Yeah, that knocked off like 3.5 minutes. I want to recognize Mark Zaleski, who retired from service to the citizens of Stevens Point after more than 2 decades working for the city. We wish Mark well in his retirement. I'm going to take a few moments tonight to remind everyone that life is short. The last week saw the loss of my uncle, who was really more of a father figure after my father passed away in 1982. I also attended the wake of Louis Malevsky Sr., who was the longest serving city attorney we have ever had, and longest serving likely in the entire state. Began his service to the citizens of Stevens Point in 1965. We often get caught up in things that don't seem to matter a whole lot when staring down the barrel of mortality. Just like January 2nd brings renewed commitment to getting in shape or fishing more this year or finally getting your pilot's license. Death has a way of kicking us back into focus, and we vow to spend more time with the ones we love and less time on some other things. We get caught up in life's drama, and sometimes, if there's not enough drama, we may even create it. Many are consumed with bickering these days, and it almost seems like we're willing to go out of our way to poke the other guy. Politics are the most obvious, but it seems like everything can set us off. Getting downright petty with some things like, I'm not talking to you because you made a post on Facebook that I didn't like, or the price of mushrooms, or where you get coffee. And I'm guilty of that too lately. Maybe it's the job, maybe I like to bully bullies, or maybe I just blurred the goal line. Well, for me, today is January 2nd. And I'm going to try and take a step back from the fray, avoid the playground-style arguing, and keep my focus on solutions and making the world around me a better place. I think I lost sight of that, and for that I'm sorry. I also hope that you all have an opportunity to recenter without having to endure a loss. And now, page 2, as Paul Harvey would say. I want to take some time to restate our journey with the county regarding our municipal buildings. I keep reminding myself that we, your staff, deal with this on a very regular basis. We've had discussions multiple times a week, if not daily. Your department's heads have been very involved in this process for the better part of a year because, quite frankly, these are the experts that you hired to do their jobs, and no one knows better what needs to be done than them. Those department heads know how they interact with other departments. They know what they need to do their jobs, and even what is needed to do them better. I hope you give them the trust that you put in them when we hired them. For more than 20 years, the county has been talking about needing new facilities, a bigger, more efficient jail, secure courtrooms and offices, and expansion. The city wanted to keep those buildings downtown in the core of the county seat, where they're best able to serve the citizens, close to support services like law offices, title companies, and making sure they were accessible for those who had transportation challenges. Time after time, study after study, the project got kicked down the road. Different county executives and different board members, different mayors and different councils. The need never went away, and they got worse. The cost always went up, and it seemed like the only people benefiting were the companies getting paid to do those studies. Over the years, we talked about closing off Arlington Place, using parking lots to build, The county purchased 1039 Ellis for the sole purpose of having space to build a new civic campus in 2015. I sat on the county board when that happened. Literally everything was on the table. I can't tell you the date, but I recall County Executive Pavelski, Chair Reeser, me, and former Director Kronowski sat in my office and talked about how we can all make this happen. Would the city be willing to vacate our 27% of the county city building? If the whole space met the county's need for a remodeled and expanded courthouse, would we be willing to give up our piece? We talked about the idea in closed session with council. The answer was probably, and we began exploring options to move City Hall. We discussed everything: building on land we already owned, buying land, or finding a building to remodel. At the council's direction, the department heads looked at options, and we came up with a few to explore a little further. We didn't need to spend much money at this point. We have a few studies of our own to tell us how much space we needed and how we could design the offices to be more efficient than we were in our current home. We took a few of those options and dove into the pros and cons, and we talked about them again with council. Still in closed session, most of the options would require some sort of negotiation. I created a summary sheet of those sites with pros and cons. I have copies on the desks of the alderpersons, and a few copies are available up here. I need to be clear, though, that some of the buildings listed on here we weren't talking to the owners. It shouldn't be assumed that we talked to any of the private property owners to discuss acquiring their property. This information may come as a surprise to them, but they were only ideas at that point and subsequently ruled out as options for the reasons listed. Much of this information was also shared with council 8 to 10 months ago. I realize that some of you hadn't even been elected yet at this point, which is the reason I'm going over all of this again. If you look at the sheet, the options, we talked about a bunch of them, but the main ones were Chase Bank. We have a tentative agreement to purchase that, council authorization, for $3 million. In the pro column, it's been in the plan to acquire for decades. We could expand to meet the city's space needs, and it's got good visibility. On the con side, we don't own it. It would also take property off the tax roll, currently about $57,000 in property taxes. At 21,000 square feet, it doesn't meet our existing space needs, let alone future needs. There's no garage for our fleet. Approved plans show the area as commercial development. We have the downtown target area master plan, which shows that as a different development. We looked at 1101 Center Point. Some of you may know it as the Stage Store. Most recently, it was the Great Lakes Service Center. Pros, we already own it. There's plenty of parking, room to expand, and still has good visibility. The cons are it was built as a retail store, not commercial offices. There's still no garage for our fleet vehicles. There's been some significant commercial interest in that site, which would generate some taxes or income. And at 22,500 square feet, it doesn't have enough room to meet the city's needs. There's also no good option to improve efficiency. With limited square footage, it would likely reduce it. We looked at Executive Place across from Associated Bank, the 3-story building down there. Current estimated fair market value is $5.8 million. There was a time when we looked at it back in 2021. In a closed session, we talked about maybe this would work. And even then, we chose not to pursue it. There was no action ever taken. The pros are it's about 36,800 square feet, enough room for now, and it's got good visibility. The cons, we don't own that building either. It would take more property off the tax roll. Currently, that's about $80,500 annually, some of which is still paying back a $1 million TIF incentive that building was originally a recipient of. There's no garage for the fleet, and there's no room to build one. There's no room for expansion, and the 3 floors would require separating the departments even further than they are now, reducing efficiency further. There's only about 22 parking spots on site, one of which is ADA, and that's all there is on the property. And we also unsure of the conditions of major items like the roof, the HVAC, plumbing, electrical. Another one is the Associated Bank Building. That's a large 6-story building downtown, currently valued at about $5.8 million as well for the primary parcel. It's got plenty of room, 98,500 square feet. It's got plenty of parking and still good visibility. On the cons side, we don't own that one either, and it may not even be for sale. It would take property off the tax roll, currently about $110,600 annually, plus more if we wanted the other lots. There's way too much room. Our needs would require about half of that. So what do we do with the other half? We're not in the commercial rental business, that's for sure. And we'd still have to heat it, keep the lights on, all of those things. The operational costs are excessive. Still, no garage for our fleet. We could build one because there's plenty of room, but that's additional money. And with 6 floors at about 14,000 square feet per floor, the departments would need to further be separated, again, reducing efficiency, and we still don't know the condition of their roof, HVAC, plumbing, or electrical. And the last major one we talked about was the Shopko redevelopment project, which in the pros, we already own that one, and we build it above the transportation center, which is part of the approved plan that's been vetted already. We can build to suit with a limited footprint. It's good visibility and not great, but it's good because it'll be in the center of the project. Cons, there's no first floor access. The transportation facility would cover the first floor. We would likely affect transportation grants or funding. Extra space would be needed if we wanted a fleet vehicle garage. No real room for expansion, and there was nothing to remodel. Building new was the only option. The idea of the land swap came up at some point. The county had already acquired a sizable chunk of land, including a building, for their project. They no longer needed most of that since the jail was moving out of the downtown and the courthouse would be remodeled on the existing site. With council authority, we began negotiating for a land swap, briefing council periodically along the way. The administrative teams for the city and the county came up with a proposal to swap our 27% ownership in the county city building in exchange for parcels collectively called 1039 Ellis for the purpose of replacing the existing city hall. That agreement was approved unanimously by the City Council on May 19th, 2025. The County Board approved it the following day with a 19-4 vote. After the swap agreement was approved, the Council directed staff to employ Somerville architects and engineers to evaluate the logistics and the cost of building new or remodeling 1039 Ellis. We did that through several meetings, including public presentations, and the final item is on tonight's agenda. Again, because the agenda is to discuss a build new or remodel, I just wanted to restate why the other sites have been ruled out and the process that got us here to cover over the course of a decade's worth of work. With that, we'll move on to item number 3, which is persons who wish to address the mayor and the council on a specific agenda item other than a public hearing should register their request at this time through Bethany. If you are, I don't see any public hearings, so we can skip that part. Is there anybody who wishes to speak that did not sign up on a sheet? Gotcha. We have a few people that registered against items, and I will make that known when we get to those items. So, item number 4 is persons who wish to address the mayor and council for up to 3 minutes on a non-agenda item. The first one is John Pavelski, County Executive. Mr. Pavelski.
Thank you, Mayor Wiesa, City Council, City staff, ladies and gentlemen. Mayor Wiesa kind of went over the whole history of what's been kind of going on between the county and the city as far as building a jail, LEC, and a courthouse. I'd just like to make some few points that Once we found out that we could not really go forward with a jail and a courthouse together, we decided to separate them. The county bought land out in Plover to build the jail and law enforcement. Staff from Portage County realized that we actually could renovate the county courthouse and make it into a secure, operationally efficient, secure for the public, secure for the judges, secure for the DA, secure for the clerk of court, secure for the plaintiffs and defendants. And we could also probably save anywhere from, it's estimated, $30 to $40 million. So that all made sense. We can move these projects forward that have been stagnated for over 15 to 20 years. We came before the council, like the mayor had said, and we asked that if they would actually move out of the city building because we could renovate it for the purpose I just stated. They agreed to that. We put together the land swap that the mayor talked about, and some part of that agreement was to come either originally it was in July, to let us know when the city would move out of the city building, and that was moved to August. What I'm here to talk about is that we really need the city to determine when they could potentially be out of the city building. We have spent, the county has spent over $3 million in schematic design for the jail, LEC, the remodel of the courthouse. We are committed to doing something, and we do need the city building gone by the city. So I just encourage you to make that decision as soon as possible, because we've got plans and decisions based upon when you guys are moving out, so we can make up appropriate plans. We're spending a lot of money. The sooner we can get going, the sooner we can spend, that we can actually save costs on the renovation in the building. We will know the cost of our renovations in about 2.5 months, but again, the other part of the equation is knowing when the city will move out. So we did put that swap together based upon the city moving into the 1039 building. Basically, if you do not move into that building, I doubt whether that we will go ahead with the agreement that we actually put together with the city that you guys had taken a look at. I'd have to talk to staff to see if we want to keep on going forward with that, but the assumption was that the city would move into 1039 building. We'd have to discuss that all over again, and just so you are aware of all that. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, County Executive Pavelski. With that, our speaker list is exhausted. We will move on to our consent agenda.
If we wanted a question of John, were we allowed to, he said if we had a question.
You can ask John tomorrow, but that is not allowed during the public comment section.
Thank you.
It's not agendaed like that, so there's really no discussion allowed. Consent agenda, item number 5. Mr. President? Motion? Anybody else for a motion?
I so move.
Move approval of the consent agenda, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Morrow. Discussion? Comments from the audience? Seeing and hearing none, clerk, please call that roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Kuzi.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
And Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 6, as I mentioned earlier, is postponed until the September meeting. That is the presentation on the 2025 annual assessment report. That will be postponed until September. Item number 7 is naming of the parcels identified in your packet to Leary Park in honor of Herb and Theresa Leary, as requested by the Friends of 2713 and John Kedrowski. Some of you may know it as the train on the south side. That area will become a park and named.
I'll move approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Steinmetz. Discussion? Comments from the audience? I do want to point out that the Friends of 2713 and John Kedrowski have done an awful lot of work on that area. You may not know it, but all of that is done. It's not a park. The city wasn't involved really. That's all the Friends Group taking care of that. And it came to the point now where they want to hand it off. So that's why we're getting it. Okay, clerk, please call that roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Guthrie. Aye. Keemer.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
And Morrow.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 8 is a resolution, a request from Patrick Kelly representing the Jehovah's Witnesses Stevens Point congregation for a sign variance to install a freestanding sign on the property located at 3600 North Point Drive, consistent with Chapter 25.14.
So moved.
I don't know whose district that is. Sorry, yours. Motion by Shuda to approve.
A second.
Seconded by Boozy. Discussion. Comments from the audience? Seeing and hearing none, clerk, please call that roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Guthrie. Aye. And Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. And now for our main event. I'm just trying to count up how many we have here. There's quite a few. For item number 9, and we have, okay, well, I lost count there. We have, Chris is registered against but not speaking. Scott Trepetoski is registered against but not speaking. Catherine Trepetoski is registering against but not speaking. Amelia Trepetoski is registered against but not speaking. Item number 9 is a request from Victor Baeten representing Stevens Point, Wisconsin LLC to rezone the properties located at 3383 Hoover Road with the parcels identified in your packet, 5278 County Road Double H, and an unaddressed parcel bounded by County Road Double H from R1 Suburban Single Family Residence to B4 Commercial District. I should note, I think it's in their packet, but this was voted down as a recommendation by the Plan Commission 4-1. We have an extensive speaker list, so I would ask that while we normally allow ample time, I would ask that everybody keep their comments as succinct and short as possible so we can get through this large stack of speakers. We will start with Justin Fromm. Did I say that right? We'll have you come up to the lectern, state your name and address again, and then provide your comments. You can have all of these.
All right, Justin Frame. I'm with JSD Professional Services. We're the consultant teams. We're the planners, surveyors, landscape architects, civil engineers who've been working with Victor and his team since about 2001 on this project. We attended Plan Commission. We hosted the neighborhood meeting with Victor and the team. And I just wanted to note a few items that came from Plan Commission specifically. There were safety concerns. I think the safety concerns that were brought up regarding traffic and pedestrian circulation, traffic through the neighborhood. We also have Daniel Biebritz with our traffic consultant and traffic engineer here with us this evening, but would put a significant amount of weight into that traffic impact analysis that looked at traffic circulation and solving those challenges and the solutions that were in that plan to look at functionality, circulation, distribution of the development itself, the new roadway that is committed by the developer that our team has planned and put together, the design standards, the incorporation of public connectivity, sidewalks, access to the development that is proposed, signalization in order to solve some of the queue concerns and traffic queuing along the corridor, not just for the neighborhood, but the overall development that are within that. And also Iris Lane. I know there's a lot of concerns there, and the traffic study extensively reviews that. I know there's been a memorandum prepared as well. We've touched on the land use plan. The comprehensive plan has shown planned commercial land use, which our plan and development follows. I want to note just a couple of items within that relative to land use. The rezone is requesting rezone of the land use. While we've showed a number of proposed uses, I want to note and just clarify an item that any large development, either commercial, larger residential, multifamily, institutional uses, any significant development or land disturbance activity greater than 1 acre in size, so the assemblage of this property is 18 acres, but any development relative to any sort of scale here will require the entire site and all of the sites within that to meet both local and state requirements, right? So 1 acre is the threshold. So that involves meeting all of the state standards for stormwater management, for groundwater protection of those sites relative to whether it's any of the commercial uses and/or, say, a larger multifamily residential development, and meeting also the city requirements for the stormwater management requirements, which I'll note are a higher threshold than the state. Those include the protection of suspended solids, oil, grease, rubber, sand, salt, oxides, metals that come across any commercial development, as well as the runoff rate control. So controlling the volume of the development, that is the pre-development volume, rate control extending or running off of a site onto adjacent sites within the 1 to 10-year event as far as the storm duration, but also the 100-year storm event. So that's a city requirement, which is a higher threshold than the state requirement. And I just want to note, I know there have been a lot of discussion about land uses and specific land uses at the last commission meeting. All of those developments will be required to meet those state standards. Appreciate the time here this evening, and available to answer any questions if they do come up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Baeten?
All right. First of all, thank you, council members, for your attention for the rezoning application. I look to bring an economic boost to this area within the city for employment opportunities and millions of dollars in tax revenue within this development. These tax revenues will come in forms of real estate taxes, sales tax creation, and income taxes of future commercial uses and employment. There are going to be statements today regarding specific uses of this development. We're not here to discuss and review specific uses. We're here in attention to the rezoning application. There are multiple steps, as Justin outlined, in the process to follow, and this rezoning request is the first part of that process. Additionally, there are 3 things I would like to address tonight. 1 is neighborhood safety. 2nd is home values nearby, and most importantly, the water safety for Stevens Point and their neighbors. And just to give you an idea of who I am, I come from humble beginnings, being the oldest boy of 11 kids in a small dairy farm family outside Green Bay, Wisconsin. Growing up, things were financially tight for a family of 13. Nothing was ever handed to me. After leaving the farm, I received my degree from University of Wisconsin-Madison in real estate and urban land economics. My focus at Madison landed me a position with Kohl's department stores in their real estate department. I worked on projects across the eastern part of the United States, which was a very drastic change from being the farm kid with whose few family vacations were a day trip to the Dells. After my time with Kohl's, my family and I moved to the Detroit Metro to work for Pet Supplies Plus Corporate as their director of real estate. My family and I decided to franchise Pet Supplies Plus and move back to Wisconsin to our roots.
Mr. Baeten, I hate to be this way,
okay,
but
sorry.
we really don't need the
Yep.
history. We want to stay germane to the topic.
Okay, so.
Fast forward.
Yep, so. When first discussions of buying this property in 2021 and today is 2025, the development world has changed quite substantially. As a society, a lot of inflation issues have occurred in the last few years. Most things cost 50% more than just 5 years ago, if not double the cost. Real estate development, commercial or residential, is no outlier to these pressures. It is likely for the reason Meyer has not built out in Stevens Point yet. I have many inquiries in this 18 acres. Mobile home parks, self-storage, distribution facilities, even a gun range, as I brought up in the neighborhood meeting. I've been selective of the end users, especially since I hope to have a Pet Supplies Plus store within this development. I've turned away better financial offers that are not a good fit for this corridor and the immediate community. Prior to purchasing the property in April of 2023, I've had numerous phone calls and in-person meetings with the aldermen and city staff regarding the current zoning and the future commercial zoning per the comp plan. We are following the comp plan to the fullest extent for this rezoning request. It is always understood that I would be in this room requesting the rezoning application. I can understand that there might be motions connected to the land for some of the neighbors, but this land is not owned by them. They have their homes and they have their rights to their own property. They don't want to buy the 18 acres and they want to say on how I should develop the property. I completely understand that change is hard. This land has been untouched for a very long time, and out of respect to the neighbor and the neighborhood, I have not cleared the land in the last 2.5 years that I've owned it. To note, these are the same neighbors that complained about the horse manure smell that came from the horses on the property when the previous owners. My signs have been up for years. They could have bought the property. They don't want to then, and they don't want to buy it now. And I'm following the comp plan the city has for people and companies like mine that are looking to invest in the community with new construction and economic growth of jobs and tax revenue. The tax revenue helps the city pay for maintenance improvements throughout the community and hopes to keep that single-family real estate taxes as low as possible. This does just that. I'm here gladly and willingly to pay those taxes and on time, as I've done so for years, owning the property. And just alone in this first phase of the project is over a $10 million investment. $3 million plus of it is a new city street and sidewalks that will finally connect to the west side of Hoover. There are long-term plans to connect this entire intersection between the various municipalities, and this is just part of a bigger plan. Now let's get to neighborhood safety. These 18 acres were never part of the village neighborhood called the Village Green Estates to the north. I reached out to the Register of Deeds. The first our acres is right there. It's not part of the neighborhood itself. It was never platted to be part of the neighborhood, and it has no access to the neighborhood. Our access points are 3 access points off of County Road HH and 1 access point off of Hoover. It was never intended for this to be part of the neighborhood. It has never been part of the neighborhood. So, let's see here. A former alderman and I met on the property back in 2022, and he voiced a concern to me that which I took in consideration in the design, that people were cutting through down Iris Lane to Forest Circle South and other various roads within the subdivision, and that's where the public street came in within the design. We have completed a traffic study with Taddy, which is part of the package that was presented, which shows the corridor has future traffic concerns and failures by 2040, and Daniel Brevowitz with Taddy is on to answer any questions on that. We are putting in the light for this proposed development, addressing to avoid future traffic issues. This has been coordinated through the state of Wisconsin, the county, and the city itself. We have not created these traffic issues over the decades. These are traffic concerns due to the growth and development around the entire community, not just this intersection. This is no longer a 2-lane gravel county road as it once was. It is one of the busiest intersections within the community and is no longer viewed as residential property and has not been for decades. There's already a commercial development on 2 corners of this intersection, and the Village of Plover comp plan and has commercial planned across County Road HH. I've already met with their staff and discussed the lease placement and timeline for the land to be annexed from the town of Plover to the Village of Plover. Speaking with the previous owners, at one point their family owned from this corner of Hoover and McDill all the way up into the industrial park. They also owned where I-39 is now for the expansion and into the Stevens Point Business Park, or Portage County Business Park. They owned where the land of Village Green Estates neighborhood is now. And if progress would not have happened and their family would never have sold to the developer, the neighbors against this change would not have their homes today in Village Green Estates subdivision. To the neighbors that believe this development is going to bring down your home value, I strongly believe it will do the opposite. By this 18 acres being developed with good commercial uses and strong employment opportunities only makes your neighborhood more exclusive and valuable. I am confident that when this 18 acres develop and with positive uses, it will create an additional equity in your home. I've seen this happen over and over again with personal projects and in my nearly 10 years of corporate real estate career. Now to address the concerns of the water contamination claims, if rezoned to commercial. It is extremely unlikely, as Justin mentioned, that there's no basis for these hypothetical claims. An engineer who has worked on this project recently stated that a contamination is more likely to come from salt used in the winter to salt the roads than a commercial project being developed on this 18 acres. Should we stop salting the roads? There are many state-mandated, DNR required, city and county additional layers to keep the design safe and avoid groundwater contamination. No one is cutting corners on those designs and requirements, I can promise you that. As stated prior, and wrapping up, I have owned this property for 2.5 years. I pay my bills on time. I've donated the 2 homes to the police station for training, and then the fire station after the police were done for control and burn and training. I may not live here, but I look to be a community partner like this in the future. City staff is recommending approval for the rezoning. To not follow staff's recommendation in the comprehensive plan would also cause extreme uncertainty for people and companies in the future to invest resources in projects like this in the future in Stevens Point. I have, and I will continue to partner with the city, county, and the state of Wisconsin for any design and safeguards needed to make this improvement for all. Since 2006, this day was inevitable for the rezoning and be the first step to create value for the city for future tax revenue, create value for the neighborhood with additional equity in their homes, and a successful development project that one can be proud of and hopefully home to my future Pet Supplies Plus store. Thank you. I did have a package that was handed out, hopefully.
Yep, all of the other persons have them. We have a couple of extra copies up here. And if anybody needs that information, tomorrow they'll be in the clerk's office.
So in the package, there's 3 aerials, and the first one's from May of 1992. Roughly only 2/3 of the Village Green homes were actually built at that time, the subdivision to the north. The homes to the west, the Aspires Clinic, and even the commercial center to the south of Aspires Clinics were not there. Heck, Woodlands Church wasn't even built yet.
How long did you do this?
Ma'am?
I thought there was a time limit.
Ma'am? I'll take care of it. Thank you.
All right. There was no Stevens Point Business Park or Crossroad Commons east of I-39, and this was only 32 years ago. The following aerials from September of 2006, the year the comp plan was adopted. The industrial park was filling in, Woodlands Church was finally built, and the business park across I-39 had a handful of buildings, and Crossroad Commons had its anchors of Lowe's, Walmart, and Kohl's. And the last aerial from February of 2024, the commercial developed on 2 of the 4 corners of the intersection. Woodlands Church actually remodeled and expanded. The industrial park is filled in, the business park filled in, and Crossroad Commons has expanded. There is now growth happening east of R with Meyer proposed in the coming years. And this growth that has happened organically has been taken into consideration in the traffic study that Daniel at Taddy had put together. There will be more growth east of I-39 for commercial and residential. There will be more growth west and north and south on Hoover. And we are just part of this. This is no longer growth. This is no longer residential, and it hasn't been for decades. Thank you.
Thank you. John Mott? And to answer your question, ma'am, because he's the applicant and he's explaining his project, I allowed the extra time. As long as people are being relevant and on topic, I think we can be a little flexible with the time, but Mr. Mott?
All right. I'm from 5324 Forest Circle. I'm one of the residents that will be affected by this project, and I think there's going to be a lot of traffic problems coming due to this project, not, besides what's planned in the future. And my wife and I are against that, and a lot of others that are not here. And we are concerned about the well water, and I understand that you as a city of Stevens Point can ignore that. And, Whiting would rather you didn't. But anyway, I just want to state that that could be a problem. I do not want you to vote for B4 zoning on this. Thank you.
And again, we are only talking about the rezoning tonight, but since the toothpaste is out of the tube, so to speak, in regards to the plans, Try to stay out of the zoning as much as possible, please. Jacob Wanta? Coming down the hall? That's all right. We'll wait.
Hello, I'm Jacob Wanta. I live at 52714 Circle South. Zoning this area to accommodate high-traffic businesses is irresponsible. You can make the argument that there are businesses on the other side of Hoover, but what you would see there are a strip mall with a dentist, a nail salon, small offices, a small restaurant. Across the road is a small medical office, an electrical company, and a small church. These places generate minimal traffic and aren't inviting people to turn off the highway all hours of the night. Motivating people to go out of their way to come to this mostly suburban area or creating areas for people to converge and be disruptive to the nearby neighborhoods. I heard the developer mention how Crossroad Commons and the industrial park have built up over the years. That was a farm field. They didn't build Walmart in the middle of a neighborhood. There is also the simple matter of this area being so close to Whiting's Wellhead Protection Zone A, a critical area protecting their drinking water. As our mayor so eloquently said 2 weeks ago, it's their wellhead, not ours. But as a citizen of this area, where out-of-towners can't tell where one municipality begins and the other ends, I think it's abominable to not take into account the health and well-being of people who we share everything but a zip code with. Allowing this area to be zoned B4 is a slap in the face not only to the adjacent communities, but to the citizens of Whiting. I understand that this developer purchased this land and should be able to do what he wants with it. The fact the government can tell someone what they can and can't do is something they spent their hard-earned money on is something I strongly oppose. But my opinions don't change laws, and this guy bought this land knowing it was zoned for residential use. You have no obligation to change that just because he wants to put up businesses. There's no shortage of empty commercial land in this city where people can start up a new pet store or build the 8th Quick Trip. Thank you.
Lynn Markham.
Hello, my name is Lynn Markham. I live at 302 Georgia Street North. I'm speaking as a private citizen. I don't live close to this parcel that's up for rezoning. I'm here because I care about public health. I care about people being safe, and that includes having safe drinking water so that we don't have unnecessary disease in our community. I'm not against some development on this parcel, perhaps some small-scale commercial development. I am against rezoning this parcel to B4, which would allow, as a permitted use, both gas stations and dry cleaners by right. The City Plan Commission voted 4-1 to deny the rezone based on concerns about potentially polluting the drinking water from municipal wells with gasoline, as well as other concerns. Gas stations have underground tanks with thousands of gallons of gas in them and diesel. We know that gasoline is about 1% benzene. We know that benzene causes cancer in people. We've known that for a long time. It's difficult to impossible to detect leaks in underground storage tanks until a lot of gasoline has leaked. The tanks being underground, you can't see when they're leaking. The benzene can move underground with the groundwater to municipal wells, most likely the Whiting wells, since they're closest to the parcel. Planner Kuhn said that if the rezone is approved, the applicant would have to get a conditional use permit under the city's wellhead protection ordinance to allow a gas station there. I agree with that. What wasn't said was that under Wisconsin's current law for conditional uses, it's difficult at best to deny a conditional use. You can place conditions on the permit, such as monitoring the groundwater, but monitoring doesn't keep our water safe. It just tells us when it's polluted. I feel that prevention, not approving this rezone that would allow gas stations, dry cleaners, all the permitted uses in the wellhead protection area is a much better approach to protecting safe drinking water than approving the rezone and likely the conditional use that would allow the gas station there with conditions to monitor the groundwater quality. Allowing gas stations near wells can also be very expensive if leaks occur. At the city municipal airport in the early 2000s, we had a spill and we found out leaking as well from our underground tanks. And that took years to clean up, and it cost $2 million to clean up. You know that Kevin Lutz from the Whiting Utilities Committee said that they are strongly opposed to any gas station being built on this parcel because it's far too close to their wells. The parcel in question for the rezoning is less than 1,500 feet or 0.28 miles from the parcel that has the Village of Whiting municipal wells. Please vote to deny the rezone to protect everyone's drinking water and health. I also have a background in zoning, and I would be happy to talk about changes at a future time for changing city zoning and changing the comprehensive plan to prevent things getting this far in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lynn, I'm sure you're well aware that we're going through a bunch of zoning meetings right now. We'd love to have your input. Pete Arnson.
Hi, Pete Arnson, 1016 Buchholz Avenue, Stevens Point. I'm also a member of the Planning Commission, and I first saw this rezone request when I looked at the PlanCom packet Friday or so before the meeting, and when looking at it, it kind of jumped out. I said, hey, that's right next to the subdivision where I did my graduate project. I was running around your neighborhood in the late 80s, installing monitoring wells, collecting water samples, surveying the residents, and a primary reason for that research was to look at the effects of unsewered subdivisions on groundwater quality and the potential impacts they could have on drinking water wells, water supply wells, and did the study, and subsequently that subdivision was incorporated into the city, much because of concern about the wellhead protection. And so when I looked at this packet and then I saw there was a gas station involved with it, I thought, I thought there was a municipal well nearby. So I did some homework, and sure enough, the Whiting Municipal Well is smack dab down gradient and groundwater flow from the site. So anything that gets released there, it is going to end up in the municipal well, short of intervention of some sort. And I knew that city had a groundwater protection overlay district. I know that the county had done a lot of work with wellhead protection and working with all the municipalities, and had changed that a couple years ago. And so I started poking around those ordinances, the city's overlay district, the Whiting Wellhead Protection Ordinance, and looked at it. Lots of talk about, yes, we won't allow things in their wellhead protection district, either the cities or the Whitings. The city's wellhead protection ordinance specifically mentions the other municipalities with wellhead protection ordinances, including Whiting Plover, also Amherst Junction, Junction City, those that they'll never influence. But Whiting is kind of right there, and it's in the wellhead protection overlay that city would look out for it. There's some languages in there, and so I wasn't really clear. I didn't see anything that said you cannot install a gas station in this wellhead protection area. Differences between wellhead protection area A and B is the capture zone, the Kona depression, as opposed to a 5-year radius. I measured the distance from the wellhead property boundary to the subject parcel boundary, and it's less than 1,500 feet, which puts it in the wellhead protection district, zone A, for the village of Whiting. And in that case, for both Stevens Point and Whiting, protection A precludes gas stations and similar dry cleaners, similar sites. And so there again, that was a bit of a note of caution to me. And it was really those that I decided that I made the motion to deny the rezone request because I wasn't sure that we could, in fact, allow this zoning change, a zoning change that would allow prohibited uses to the wellhead protection zones. And need to deny it then? Well, nothing definitive about it, but I did some more homework. There was a boundary agreement when the city acquired the Village Green, and there were terms and conditions in that, and part of that was the city would protect essentially the wellhead protection zones of the Village of Whiting. And so, again, there's a number of documents, the Stevens Point Wellhead Overlay District, the Village of Whiting Ordinance, the Boundary Agreement, the Portage County Wellhead Protection Ordinance, and but again, and I read through them all, I looked at them, I found some things that are somewhat definitive, but again, I never found anything that says, thou shalt not do this. And so my question is, we should hold off on doing this until the city attorney looks at it, makes a judgment, makes a ruling, offers an opinion to see whether or not the zoning codes really allows this type of zoning change. And only after that, only after we know whether or not we can, then we can decide whether or not we should. And that should question is another issue and worthy of discussion. But first, I think we need to know for sure, can we do this zone? Again, the property, best I can tell, is within the Wellhead Protection District A. The Stevens Point overlay says we will acknowledge wellhead protection districts. Now, the property is in Zone C of the city of Stevens Point. Was pointed out at the meeting that, well, the Whiting ordinance only applies to the Village of Whiting. Well, of course, it can only apply to its own municipality. The Stevens Point one says city of Stevens Point and unincorporated portions of the county. Properties across the street are unincorporated portion of the county, the village of town of Plover. So again, there's a lot of murkiness. There's a lot of intent that says don't do this, but I think we need a final determination on it before we go much further than this. So I request, until we get a determination, that you vote down this resolution and zoning request.
Thanks. You. We also allowed some extra time, just so you're aware.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Trevetesky. Oops.
Elizabeth Trevetesky, 3262 Sunflower Road. I have, the previous two speakers have said a lot of what I was intending to, which is fantastic. Great job. I've lived here my entire life. On the way here, I passed Iverson Park, the city of wonderful water. I grew up with that sign. I grew up in the city of wonderful water. I grew up close to the airport wells that were damaged. My father died of cancer, and I'm not entirely sure those two things are not connected. So the importance of groundwater is really near and dear. I love where I live. I love the city I live in, and I have been here my whole life. I've raised my family here. And I would like for this board to be remembered as the board that protected the city of wonderful water instead of the board that decided that wasn't important. Thank you.
Thank you. Harold Wolfgram.
Harold Wolfgram, I'm legal counsel for the applicant with a law office over in Marshfield. I'm going to be brief. You know, I represent multiple municipalities. I've been city attorney in Marshfield for over 30-some years. I always tell my municipal clients, and in particular cities, you know, you're really running a corporation, and the governing body is acting like a board of directors. You need to make tough decisions. You make it for that corporation. A municipal corporation really has a job of providing municipal services, and those services are everything from protection, and they include quality water, they include all the things that a municipality gives to its citizens. But when you do that as a body, you are also doing it for all of the citizens in the betterment of the municipality itself. And one of the things that's at issue here is, of course, economic development. Understanding the parameters of that decision includes the fact that it's been discussed here tonight, a lot of things that come in, it's emotional, people have concerns, but the fact is that a lot of those things are already addressed by other regulations and conditions that the municipality employs. And that includes, when we talk about a gas station, that's a conditional use. Sounds like some folks have had some problems, and consider that like that's just well, you're going to just get that. But when you talk about the kind of things that have been discussed here tonight about groundwater contamination and overlays, now you're talking about something different when it comes to the development of a gas station, whether that's going to risk that. So you have a procedure in place to address those elements. What's in front of you tonight is a zoning change. And that zoning change is something that is addressed by the standards that have been given to you by your staff. And as part of that role as a governing body, as you look at and rely on the people that you've hired, probably have evaluated that very same staff member, and rely on their credibility and the fact that they're carrying out their job. And at this point, at least in terms of the record you have in front of you, that staff has supported the conditional use, or the zoning change. They've given you reasons for that consistent with those standards, and that's really what you're here for tonight. And that's really all I wanted to say. I think so many of the things they're certainly viable. I understand why people would feel that way. Part of it is just human nature to be resistant to change, and it would be scary if that's something that you're looking at if you've lived in a long time in a neighborhood. On the other hand, you'll always be facing that. Municipalities all over this state are vying for revenue because those things keep getting dropped off by changes in the law, and so you start figuring, how am I going to provide for those services, the cost of the services as those are going up. And I can tell you from my work with multiple municipalities, the issue of bringing in economic development, your staff alone, in the report, I watched the Plan Commission meeting, and one of the concerns was that if we don't follow our comprehensive plan, and I'm out there as a staff member trying to bring folks in and invest in this community, how do we move forward if that's what that looks like? Where do we go from there? And that's a viable consideration when you're trying to make a decision here tonight. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jocelyn Donahue Renford.
Thank you. Jocelyn Donahue Renford, 3349 Orchid Lane. I'm actually also an attorney by trade, and so I think it is important to look at the various legal reasons that we have, and not just emotional, for the zoning uses of this property. I want to be clear that rezoning is a quasi-legislative decision. That means it's a policy-making decision. That means that you can and should consider community values, long-term planning goals, and public input during these rezoning decisions. It's not just based on emotions or no change, and certainly if you turn down the reapplication for B4 commercial zoning tonight, you are not stopping development on this parcel. There are other alternatives that could be brought later, but B4 commercial zoning being put right next to R1, that doesn't exist elsewhere in the city because it's not the best planning practice. It creates conflict of land uses. So things, a lot of noise, a lot of light pollution, a lot of traffic. And the traffic issue isn't about necessarily just people going through our neighborhood. It's about the neighborhood residents being able to enter and exit their neighborhood. So the ways that we can do that right now are on Hoover and on HH. There's one exit onto HH, that's Iris Lane. The traffic analysis, if you look at it, it says that there will be a level service F for Iris Lane by 2040. And that means that there will be long delays in trying to exit our neighborhood that way. That leaves only Hoover exits, and it's a short span of Hoover Road that we exit onto. So I have serious concerns about municipal services and emergency services being able to access us, along with us being able to get in and out of our neighborhood. I looked at the whole traffic analysis, and I didn't see any solutions to the traffic issues that would be created with this B4 commercial zoning, the level of traffic that something like that could create. Smaller neighborhood businesses, multifamily residential, that doesn't create as much traffic concern. And it's something that has been contemplated in the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan doesn't say that it was slated for B4 commercial use. It says that commercial, office, multifamily. So there's a lot of alternatives here for development, keeping with the comprehensive plan, that also doesn't hurt the neighborhood residents that are currently there. And I think that those should be considered strongly. I think it's also important to note that looking at the comprehensive plan, it is out of date. I know that there's been a lot of effort to try to bring it back up to date, but it's out of date to the point where it's out of compliance with state law right now. It's supposed to be updated every 10 years. In 2018, we looked at updating the future land use maps, and that contemplated making those parcels mixed use rather than commercial use. In 2024, my neighborhood was really active in talking about that land, and the goals by the staff, too, city staff proposed, were things that could help create a buffer between commercial and R1 residential on that space. So I think it's important to know that it hasn't always been slated for B4 commercial zoning. You know, certainly there will be development there, and I think we should be open to change to some extent, but we have to make sure that existing property use is protected.
Thank you. Eric Renford.
Good evening.
Do you see the little sign there? What does that say?
Don't touch. All right.
It makes a whole lot of noise on the recording. We can't hear it, but everybody watching at home can do this.
Gotcha. Apologies to those at home. Eric Renford, 3349 Orchid Lane. I am actually a professional engineer by trade, so I found the traffic study very interesting in the same way that Jocelyn mentioned. It talks about that level of service F for the main exit from our neighborhood. Specifically, if you're coming out of our neighborhood and trying to go to Crossroad Commons or get on the interstate, you come out that side. The projected traffic volumes, particularly you think about trying to turn right past that into whatever this new development is, that's going to bottle it up, and the study shows that. The study goes on to say, well, it's not really a problem because you could turn off of Forest Circle South. Well, okay, but it doesn't model that, and it shows that the projected performance for that intersection with 7 cars exiting the neighborhood per hour is level of service C. Redistribute some of that flow, that drops as well. They haven't modeled it, they just say, that's a solution, just drive over there. So I look forward to seeing what they've allegedly come up with for solutions for that, because that was not included in the report. Also not included in the application materials was the car wash, which was very interesting to have brought up at the Plan Commission and in the city staff's memo discussing things. We've been very active and interested in this and had no idea that there was a gas station there, which brings more water contamination issues. Speaking of water contamination, I know the mayor has mentioned that we're trying to talk about this rezoning and not the proposed future amendments. Let me steal a page from City Attorney's book here and read to you the factors which shall be considered for a proposed zoning code amendment. A, the impact of the proposed amendment and potential subsequent amendment requests will have on area traffic, parking, street capacity, transportation. B, the impact the proposed amendment and potential subsequent amendment requests will likely have upon area drainage, water, environmental stuff, what we've been talking about tonight. So it is absolutely germane to be talking about the water issues here. This goes on to talk about population density changes, school population changes, cost to provide adequate sanitary, storm sewer, on and on. Point being, it makes sense to discuss all of these things. What we're really here to discuss tonight is the needs of the community, the needs of this parcel. A lot has been made of that comprehensive plan, which, as has been mentioned, is out of date. Not only is it out of statutory compliance, it's out of compliance with its own its own update schema that's laid out within the plan, and it's a 20-year plan that was made in 2006. So it's kind of run its course at this point. So I urge you to consider the facts in front of you based on the needs of the community. We need to be able to get in and out of our neighborhood. We need to be able to have clean, safe drinking water. I know they mentioned the 100-year storm. What was the storm event down in southeast Wisconsin this past weekend or 2 weeks back, a 2,000-year storm? When I do windows, which is my day job, structural engineering of windows, it's a thing. If a bank gets a new window, 700-year wind gust on that window is what it's designed for. If a school gets a new window, 1,700-year wind gust is what it's designed for. And if a emergency services station gets a new window, 2,700-year wind gust is what it's designed for, with safety factors on top of that. So yes, in the past, things like 50-year floods, 10-year floods may have been reasonable or considered reasonable. I know that we're talking about 100-year floods at the city level, but perhaps that is not enough as well. And let's be honest, the Zone A to Zone B or C transition, depending on which map you look at, runs right up the middle of Hoover. You can stand where the gas pumps are going to be on this new site and chuck a rock to there. Even with monitoring wells, what are you going to do? Thank you.
Thank you. Deanne Donahue.
I want to know how they calculate a 2,700-year gust now.
Moses.
They definitely weren't keeping records back then. I don't know when we started keeping records, but I'm guessing it wasn't 2,700 years ago.
maybe.
Hello, Deanne Donahue, 3395 Howard Avenue. I'm a resident of Village Green Estates since '94, and I'm opposed to the parcels located at HH and Hoover being rezoned to B4, as well as many of my neighbors here. I'd like to clarify a few things that have been stated by city staff members at recent Plan Commission meetings and at other interactions. The comprehensive plan the city is currently using is from 2005. At that time, Village Green was still part of Town of Plover and not a member of Stevens Point. While an agreement was entered into around '97 for our 2007 annexation, the administration did not ask our subdivision for input on its comprehensive plan. We should have been included, but we were not. We were also told that we should have purchased the property if it was so important to us. Well, I don't recall it ever being publicly listed by the previous owner, and I guarantee if I had seen that, I would have checked out the price, if nothing more than just for curiosity. I didn't notice any signs until the investors started advertising it as commercial property, even though it was still zoned R1. We were also told that the city may consider building small houses there, maybe even for the homeless. Well, myself and my neighbors, we did have a meeting with the investor regarding purchasing this property. We were told that for the L-shaped piece, the part that's not part of Phase 1, it would be $4.5 million. If we wanted the entire 18 acres, it would be $7.5 million. That's $417,000 an acre. I don't know about the city, but I think it's priced a bit too high. And lastly, being told that this was planned 20 years ago, our comprehensive thing, and this being commercial, so it absolutely has to be. Well, things do change. We've learned about changes in history class, and we've also personally seen many changes, such as Crossroads, the industrial park, the business park. But just because something was color penciled in on a comprehensive map 20 years ago doesn't mean it's still relevant today, and maybe the map needs to be modified. Also, something being labeled commercial doesn't mean it has to be B4. So those are my clarifications, and now my oppositions. First is groundwater. These parcels are located adjacent to Whiting's wellhead area. We all know that clean water is the basis of life. At the previous Plan Commission meeting, the mayor read a document from a previous village president. However, the current president and trustees do not agree with that document, and the village submitted a letter to the city and the alderpersons on August 7th stating that the village of Whiting is against the rezoning of these parcels to B4, as it could have a significant impact on Whiting's water. B4 has very few restrictions as to what can be built. The members of the Plan Commission stated that once rezoning approval is given, it's almost impossible to backtrack. The Plan Commission discussed the groundwater issue in great detail. While Whiting does not have extraterritorial jurisdiction, let's remember that clean water belongs to all of us. We don't want to pit water user against water user. If a gas station were built on this parcel, which is permitted under B4, it's not a matter if this would contaminate Whiting's groundwater. It's a matter of when it will contaminate the water. Remember the human factor. Valdez, Exxon, BP, accidents happen. And yes, Whiting's able to connect to Stevens Point water, but not without causing a great deal of chaos. And then what happens when Point's water becomes contaminated? Our water does not come from an ancient reservoir locked under hundreds of feet of stone. It's replenished by rain, stored in sand, and filtered. Let's not forget how in 2012, Stevens Point opened well 11, a high-capacity well pulling an average of 3 million gallons of water a day. It dried up 29 wells in the town of Hull. What one municipality does can greatly affect another municipality. Managing a resource no one can see but everyone's survival depends upon is complicated. Groundwater pollution is inevitable with this property being Zone B4. It doesn't get cleaned up overnight. Point is the city of wonderful water. Why would we not be a good neighbor and help to keep Whiting's water protected? My second point is butting B4 next to R1. Village Green has existed for over 55 years. It's a thriving, non-blighted, highly sought-after subdivision with kids playing in yards, people walking and biking, and neighbors chatting in driveways. 18 acres of B4 property, separated from R1 properties by a fence, or maybe 10 feet of nasty brush no one will maintain, does not really protect or improve the quality or integrity of our existing neighborhood. It will devalue our properties, cause noise and light pollution, and create unimaginable traffic chaos, eventually eliminating 1 to 2 access points to our subdivision. There are already B1 type businesses located at this intersection, mostly operating 8 to 5-ish, except for one pub. These businesses have not caused a great traffic impact or property devaluation. A much more restrictive, smaller acreage commercial zoning could be placed near the intersection of HH and Hoover, with the remainder being some sort of residential buffer next to the existing R1 homes. Thirdly, there's also so much commercial property available in this city, many sitting vacant and becoming blighted. Redevelopment of what already exists is encouraged in the comprehensive plan. More commercial is not needed here. I urge you to please vote no to rezoning these 18 acres to B4. Thank you for your time.
Joe Donahue. And as he's coming up, a point of clarification, to date, we do not have anything official from the Village of Whiting or their trustees. We have an email from the Utilities Commission Chair, Kevin Lutz, saying that the Utilities Commission opposes it, but there has been no official action on any of that. Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Joe Donahue. I reside at 3395 Howard Avenue in Evergreen Subdivision. I'd like to thank the Planning and Zoning Commission for their service and dedication to the community and respect their expert opinion on the recent proposal to not change a large section of Evergreen Subdivision to B4. They recently voted 4-1 to not go forward for all of the reasons listed at the last meeting. The purpose of planning and zoning is clear. It is to protect the existing supply of housing through effective building and land use code enforcement. I've heard a lot of opinions about what's best for our community. Many of these people never lived here or no longer live here. Their opinions are irrelevant to me and strictly profit driven. In all the discussions, not one person said we really need one more Quick Trip with a large car wash that was revealed to us, to the community at the last moment. The developer has not been fair or credible to the community on many occasions, and Stevens Point deserves better. The current comprehensive plan was created before the Village Green was annexed, and we have had no voice in the plan development. You know, Mike, I know you're passionate about Victor's plan and proposal, and you told that the community redevelopment was...
Mr. Donahue, please don't put words in my mouth.
Weren't you passionate at the last meeting?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry I misread you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Continue on relevant topics, please.
I think it's relevant, so, and I don't think you interrupted a single person.
Are you finished?
No, sir. I want to be respectful, but
doesn't sound like
am I not entitled to my opinion?
You are, but you're putting words in my mouth.
I didn't, did I say you said anything?
I am not passionate about any of this.
Okay, so point noted. Can we move on?
Please
But
do.
I didn't mean to be disrespectful.
Please do.
It just seemed
Please
like
do.
something that was obvious.
Moving on or not?
I don't know. I hope to. So, you know, the Planning and Zoning, the Planning and Zoning Commission has you know, quite frankly, I think that it's a crazy idea that we move forward with a planning and zoning proposal from 2005. It's just a crazy idea. It's probably illegal, so why would we act on it? I'm just being honest and fair. It's my opinion, and I should be entitled to it. You know, overall, Stevens Point is an awesome place to live, but nobody has ever told me that one more commercial development in a pristine neighborhood is necessary or would improve the lives of anybody in the city of Stevens Point. If the proposed plans are seriously being considered, please pay very careful attention to the county highway HH traffic road analysis. The executive summary is clear. The primary ingress and egress out of the subdivision is Iris Lane. So it's probably rated F. F is for fail, F is the worst. 500 residents will lose reasonable access to the community. From my understanding, we would have to go through 6 stoplights just to go southbound on 39 when we live less than an eighth a mile away from I-39. So that's a significant impact to everybody who lives in that subdivision who've been paying taxes for many of us for over 35 years, and I think it's important that it be respected. Large-scale development is a better place. A large-scale development is much better placed HH, on Highway HH, east of 39, where proper traffic plans exist and can easily be improved. I care about our neighbors. I care about the wells in the town of Hull. I care about the wells in the town of Whiting. I care about the wells in the village of Plover, right? I'm sorry I offended you, and I'm sorry for your recent loss. Moving forward, my destiny is to take care of our neighbors and be more respectful to all of them. And I appreciate everybody's time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donahue. Just trying to do our job. Michael Corrigan.
Michael Corrigan, 3271 Tulip Lane. I walk my dog past Karen and Jeff and Jennifer and Joel and Julie's. All these people, I walk my dog past their house. When my dog eliminates, I pick up after it. I'm a good neighbor. Mr. Mayor, you made a comment 2 weeks ago about once you pee in a pool, you can't unpee.
He did make
once you have a leak from a service station or whatever it is, you're going to contaminate Whiting's well. I think as far as being a good neighbor, is Stevens Point a good neighbor? Are we? Ask yourselves as city council people. Are you willing to be a good neighbor to the village of Whiting when it concerns drinking water? I'm going to read from your Groundwater Protection Overlay District. The purpose and authority. The purpose, the residents of Stevens Point and Portage County, whether served by private wells or municipal supplies, depend exclusively on groundwater for a safe drinking water supply. Certain land use practices of the Wellhead Protection Ordinance is limited to land use regulation and restrictions to protect the municipal water supplies of the villages of Amherst, Junction City, Plover, Whiting, and the city of Stevens Point, and to promote the public health, safety, and general welfare of the residents of Portage County. Now, I've lived in my subdivision for 39 years. I've seen change, Mayor. Hoover Road used to be a 2-lane road. Double H wasn't even Double H, it was called McDill. It was a 2-lane road. And I would, at this point, with all the traffic that is already coming down these 2 corridors, clean water, clean air. I would much rather see Blue Top Farms over there on Brolowski now than all of the dust pollution, light pollution, noise pollution, all that I'm picking up off of Double H and Hoover intersection. All you're going to do is add. Mr. Attorney, we have committees and councils set up, administrators who refer.
Mr. Corrigan, please address the committee. We're not going to engage.
Council members, when an attorney made a comment about how our administrator moved the project forward, admitted that, we should move this to rezone this. Our own administrator said so. But we have a commission who digs into stuff and made a recommendation of, I believe it was 4-1 to deny the recommendation. Okay? So I'm with my neighbors here. We need to deny this recommendation to rezone from R1 to B4. Once you allow B4 in here, it's just let them out, you're letting the dogs loose. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Marilyn Capel?
Marilyn Keppel, 5283 Crocus Court. No problem. I'm not an expert like some of the people that have been speaking. I just have lived at Crocus Court for 51 years. I had my children there, had them in high school here, college here. I've lived here. My husband worked for the county. He was brought into Stevens Point as a social worker for the county. I speak because of the safety of the subdivision. I don't know how you got your numbers or how you get them, but there's a lot of traffic. And you have no measure of the human traffic going between neighbors and what goes on in those roads. Safety in our subdivision is my primary concern. I want to spend the rest of my life in this subdivision and pass it on to my kids. I've had my house made handicapped accessible and everything to prepare for that. But I can't see a gas station with 24-hour lights, noise, diesel. The whole plan just upsets me as a homeowner and a resident, and it affects everybody in the subdivision. You don't have to live on Forest Circle South to be affected. And to say Forest Circle is one of the ways out, not only is it possibly going to be made a more direct one, in fact, both sides of that road, it's also going to draw in to all the streets to our subdivision. Forest Circle sort of has all the streets going off of it, and people that want to avoid stoplights and different things will meander through the subdivision. We have kids playing, kids riding bicycles, older people riding tricycles, the three-wheel things, and motorized things on the street. The people that live there know that and drive carefully. The people coming down from Highway 39 don't know that. You're inviting, with the gas station, they're inviting Highway 39 to also come into our subdivision in our area. And I plead with you to please consider, if you lived in Village Green, is this what you would want for your family and your neighbors at your lifetime? As I say, I've been there 51 years and plan to be there not another 51, but more. So please, thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Randy Phelps? And while he comes up, Marilyn, when you said those kids on the three-wheeled things, I'm dating myself up. The image of a big wheel came to mind for me. I don't know if everybody knows what those are, but that was a big thing when I was younger.
Well, they got them for adults, and I talked to a friend about getting one when I had knee surgery. And I talked to the former judge's wife, Pam, who had one. And she said they're so heavy that she got one and promptly went into the ditch.
Oh, that's not good. Mr. Phelps.
Thank you. My name is Randy Phelps. I do not live here. I own a number of properties here. My family stretches back to 1861 when they had farm between Hoover and what's now Brulowski along HH for that mile. I guess we ended up being maybe part of the cause of this meeting. These were dairy farmers for both my great-grandparents and my grandparents until from 1861 until World War II, when all the kids went off to war. Farmers stopped having people to be able to work the fields, and so my grandfather died in that same period of time. So what happened? My grandmother had to sell part of the property to help maintain her living expenses. And so we sold the property to a potato farmer, which now became Crossroads Commons. That was back in the 50s. In 1970, the state managed to bisect the rest of the farm with 39 and 51. And so we lost more of the farm at that point in time. Not only that, but the state needed the land to create the overpass for Highway HH on 39 and 51, which the farm contributed that so that the overpass could exist. And then in 1980s, it managed that the state wanted to widen HH from its two-lane highway to what it is today. And so we were told you need to move your houses or else you can tear them down, but we're taking your property. And so a majority of my relatives at that time moved their houses back to where they exist today. We still own, as a family, from Hoover over to 39 and 51 along the frontage of HH, or just south of the development that we're talking about here tonight. Obviously, we've gone through 4 generations. Now, the kids, like today, all live somewhere different. California, Iowa, Arkansas. We still live in Wisconsin, and we still have some relatives that still live in those houses, same houses across the street from you. So what I guess I wanted to really say is, let's not talk about change that we as a family have experienced probably more change than most of you, even in your 51 years have experienced. And I have to say that we have not felt impacted by the changes that are proposed, and that they are fairly minor in the realm of 4 generations as to what we've gone through. So we do not see a problem with this. We all had our worries back when all these things were taking place for the family, but guess what? They've all worked out. We realize that it's no longer the little gravel road that we used to play in. We are a commercial corridor. Let's face the fact, this is change, and as much as it may affect you, it sure probably will affect us, but we've come to accept that, and we are looking forward to going ahead and supporting this project. Thank you.
Dorothy Mason, and while Dorothy's coming up, Mr. Phelps, that was a very interesting history lesson. I know the director at the Portage County Historical Society. I don't know if any of that information is documented, but if you could call my office, I'd love to put you in touch with them.
We have a lot more family history that I could have brought up, but we're time limited, okay?
Please, call my office.
Thank you.
Dorothy Mason.
Yeah, but John here would love that.
Hi, Dorothy Mason, 5279 County Road HH. I'm on the south side of HH, and a lot of what Randy said, and I've been there over 60 years. When we moved there, like he said, 2-lane, And let me share you a couple of stories. In the early 70s, Whiting Plover School was built. They were going to make our girls walk from our HH to school because we were under 2 miles. Well, I think they finally realized how busy it was. When my oldest daughter was a kindergarten, they didn't have to drop you off at the same side of the road that you lived on. I was there waiting for her in the driveway, and when she got off that bus, she started to come across, and a truck went flying through, and if that bus driver wouldn't have laid on the horn, she would not be here today because he stopped the next house down on the other end of their property. What I'm getting at is that been a fast, we call it Hell's Highway, forever. It's a very fast road, and now it's a 4-lane. When Sue and Brian lived across from me, to go across that 4-lane, it's very difficult. So to have families live over there on that side, I can't see how anybody would want to put them through that. It's very dangerous to do that. So that's why, and yes, we see the changes. So we do support the commercial. I don't know what's going to go in there, but we support if we go on zoning it to commercial because of that. Only other point I want to bring up to you, the well water. Anybody know that the McDill Cemetery has been there for over 100 years, and those first burials, they had no vaults back then? Guess what? It was wooden boxes, and they disintegrated, and where'd those bodies go? Into the water, into the land. And I don't think it ever hurt anybody. Here we are. So that's my point. So,
thank you very much. Susan Kedrowski.
My mother used to tell me stories about St. Pete's Cemetery up on Old Wasser Road. When it flooded.
Hi, I'm Susan Kedrowski. I live in Tigerton, Wisconsin, and for those of you who feel I no longer have a right to be here, it feels like the right thing to do to come and speak out. I'm the former landowner for the north side. My family and the Masons have been neighbors since the 1860s. They were both homesteaded. I think that's some kind of record. It's no longer a residential area. We moved because it's no longer residential. That road is so busy. It is a corridor for ambulances. It's just, it needs to have a change. We worked with Victor on this. Sometimes people have asked me why we didn't change it, come in and have it zoned commercial before we sold it, because we could have made more money. It had a lot. I don't know if any of you know my mom. I'm trying not to get too long-winded here. My mother wouldn't sell. It was the homestead. She wasn't selling. Victor approached us, and my mom said, "It's time. This is no longer a good place for me to be. It is time for us to sell and move." Victor worked with the family so that my mother was happy with the sale and the changes, and he's getting some of the brunt of it now for trying to accommodate my family during a difficult time. So I just want to say, Victor has been wonderful to work with if you just give him a chance. He's going to be fair. He's been ethical. We did our diligence. We checked him out before we signed any papers. He was very good to work for. And all I can say is take your cup of coffee, go sit in my mom's old backyard, and try and have a conversation. All you're going to hear is ambulances. She got so she could no longer leave her windows open at night. It was too loud. The only constant in life is change. This is a difficult change for you. It's been a difficult change for my family. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Deb Zaski. Almost done.
Hi, my name is Deb Zaski, and me and my family reside at 5222 Forest Circle South, where we have lived for the past 30 years. I, of course, am against the B4 because I know the city wants to grow, but I think the residents of our neighborhood, that we should protect the sanctity of our neighborhoods. I think the residents are what make a city, not the businesses or anything else. Although I know Victor has talked about a pet store, which we have 3, one of which is owned by a resident in our neighborhood. And I would think you'd want to protect a locally owned business like that as well from a larger box store. I know a lot of people have said a lot of things, and I agree with my neighbors on everything they have said. Most of the people who have spoken in favor of the change are doing so because of monetary reasons. Either they receive the monetary reasons or they are hoping to in the future. We are asking because of our neighborhoods, because of the people. And I just want to say that I am against rezoning to B4.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alicia Skrinas?
Hello, my name is Alicia Skrinas. I live at 5316 Forest Circle in Stevens Point. I wrote it down so I would get it right this time. First, I'd like to just thank everybody who is so patiently waiting to listen to everything we have to say. I understand it's making for a very long meeting, but as you can tell, we are very passionate about the topic, so I would like to thank you very much for your time tonight. I agree with pretty much everything that everyone who is against the B4 has stated, and so I will not bore you with all the wellhead stuff I had written down, but I did have a few other comments I wanted to say. I took a look at the comprehensive plan, and in section 8.4 objective A1, it states minimizing conflicts between adjacent land uses. There has been nothing definitive that supports this objective. The developer has mentioned leaving a buffer zone while phase 1 is being built, but has not stated what the buffer zone will look like once all phases are completed. In fact, he hasn't even mentioned what all the phases will be. There needs to be further conversations as to what the final development of this area will look like, including what type of buffer and how it will be maintained before I think a consideration should be made to rezone. It is fair to the neighbors to know exactly what the end product will be before we go ahead and rezone it to B4. Section 8.5 states proposed developments should act as or create a buffer between higher and lower intensity land uses. I don't believe that rezoning these lots to B4 right next to an R1 is not following the objectives of minimizing conflicts or creating a buffer. And I know earlier someone mentioned that there is no properties in town where R1 is zoned next to B4. There's actually one single property in town. I noticed according to the zoning map from 2023, but otherwise B4 is next to other residential zones, not R1 residential zone. I also looked at the extraterritorial future land use map on the comprehensive plan, and the lots that are listed that we're talking about are listed as commercial/office. However, it does not define the type of commercial. It does not say B1, B2, B3, B4, or B5. It would seem a proposal to rezone it as B1 would be more consistent with what is already located across the street. I'm talking about the medical facility that is already in that corridor, which is zoned B1 according to that map. B1 is defined as a neighborhood business district. This designation seems to closely align with being next to a neighborhood as well as being consistent with the other commercial zoning across the street from this property that we are asking to be rezoned. So I don't think B4 is the appropriate designation in this spot, considering the other commercials are already zoned B1 and the zoning would happen right next to a residential R1. I still think, however, given all that this could also work as a residential lot, and I think there's a huge difference of satisfaction living on a busy road in a residential lot if you've purchased it knowing that it is busy versus if it grows to be busy around you over years after purchase. So I just would like to to say that thought as well. And I won't bore you with the rest, and that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Very much. Savannah Hebior? Really? Nice. I'm on a roll tonight. Well, almost.
Okay, Savannah Hebier, 52724 Circle South. I do just want to echo what Alicia just said, and thank you to everyone for your time tonight. I know it is making a long meeting, but the neighborhood is very, very passionate about this. One silver lining from all of this has been I have met so many of my neighbors and gotten to know so many of them. Some of us are planning a block party in September just to get together and, meet each other even more. So there is some, silver lining there. First of all, I just wanted to say, as a Village Green resident, it feels a little patronizing to say the neighbors could have just purchased the land if we cared about what the land becomes. I don't know about all of you, but I don't have millions in my back pocket. But just because we can't afford it doesn't mean our voices and our input should not be just as valued. None of my neighbors that I've talked to about this are naive enough to believe change won't happen at this corner. But we want to be part of shaping the future of Stevens Point to leave a safe and long-standing legacy for future generations. I've been doing quite a bit of research on water protection to really understand the impact this proposal could have. A lot of information and conflicting information has been thrown out, so I wanted to find out what I could uncover for myself. And I found a few interesting stats. One being a U.S. Geological Survey study found gasoline contaminant in 40% of public wells and 21% of private wells, especially those closer to underground fuel storage tanks. Detection rates were highest in wells serving residential communities. So as Dan said, it's not if, but when. And what that means is that even when modern safety systems are in place, like double-walled tanks and leak monitoring, studies show that contamination still occurs quite commonly. That's why protection zones like Whiting's Wellhead Protection Buffer are vital and part of the process and procedure for protecting our water. Fuel components can travel beyond immediate spill zones, infiltrating well systems and posing long-term public health risks even when rules are followed. B4 commercial zoning is simply not appropriate for this location. It sits within Whiting's Wellhead Protection Zone, a safeguard meant to prevent long-term groundwater contamination. And even if our own code isn't explicit here, we have a duty to act as environmental stewards, not loophole navigators. The Plan Commission themselves recognize that once land is zoned commercial, B4 commercial specifically, it's nearly impossible to walk back control, conditional use or not. This isn't about just one gas station, it's about irreversible precedent. While Stevens Point and Whiting typically operate independent water systems, they are physically connected through emergency infrastructure, as confirmed at the Planning Commission meeting. This connection is a safeguard, but it also creates shared vulnerability. If Whiting's wellfield is compromised, especially by something long-lasting like fuel contamination, Stevens Point may be called on to supply water for an extended period, placing added stress on our own system. Worse, if the emergency system ever flows in reverse or infrastructure fails, contaminants could migrate. In either case, contamination doesn't stay neatly within municipal boundaries. Water moves, and so do risks. Protecting Whiting's water is ultimately protecting Stevens Point's resilience, infrastructure, and public health. Once a wellhead is compromised, there's no undoing it. This isn't just a zoning vote, it's a test of whether Stevens Point truly values environmental stewardship when it matters most. Let's not trade decades of clean water for a decision we can never take back. As Jocelyn said previously, voting no does not prevent this land from being used commercial in some fashion. But B4 is not appropriate given the wellhead protection zone. No one is expecting residential houses to be built and butting up to HH with kids running on that street. Please vote no on the current rezoning proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And believe it or not, that exhausts our speaker list here. Is there anyone online wishing to comment? Raise your virtual
Mayor,
hand.
I can.
Go ahead, sir.
This is Dan Beabrooks. Yes, this is Dan Beabrooks from Traffic Analysis and Design.
Go ahead.
And I would just like to address some of the traffic issues that came up. First of all, I have over 30 years of experience in traffic studies, such as this type of development here. So one of the issues I heard brought up was particularly drivers exiting out Iris Lane during the afternoon peak hour, and where it'd be long delays. And we do show a longer delay in the PM peak hour by year 2040. Granted, this is year 2040, due to basically three main growth areas. We looked at the undeveloped parcels at the Crossroad Commons, so we added that traffic onto the McDill Avenue. We added undeveloped parcels at the Portage County Business Park and also the general growth rate of traffic on McDill Road. So in actuality, that southbound left turn delay is a result of basically these three common areas plus our development traffic. So that delay will increase whether this development goes in or not. However, with the addition of our new traffic signal just to the west here, which would be about 600 feet west of Iris Lane, drivers do have an option of making a right turn from Iris Lane and making a U-turn at the signalized intersection and get back to the freeway. This would only add maybe about 20, 25 seconds of additional delay, about 25 to 30 seconds of additional delay there. So that is an option that drivers could do instead of trying to wait to try to make a left turn out of the site. So that'd be a good option as far as instead of going all the way over to Forest Circle going west. And also we did look at sort of an aftermath just because 2 weeks ago this issue came up, a question came up as far as additional delay on Hoover Road at Forest Circle South and just adding additional 50% of traffic onto that intersection. It would still perform at level service C, which is acceptable delay. So approximately about 25 seconds of delay trying to make a left turn out of there by year 2040. There were some issues as far as safety of the neighborhood of cut through traffic. With the addition of the new signal at the site driveway, we plan to coordinate with Hoover Road and also the I-39 traffic signals such that the westbound direction will get good progression. So we're basically trying to limit the amount of stops occurring on the main line so we give priority to traffic on McDill Road, or McDill Avenue, going westbound. So that will essentially sort of decrease the need to cut through the neighborhood due to traffic backups, just because we don't think there's going to be a lot of traffic backups at the new signalized intersection itself, just because it'll be put in progression with those other traffic signals along the way. Again, some people say, there's cut through traffic today, but obviously, we can't address the existing traffic issues right now through the cut through traffic that exists today, if there's any. But like say with the additional new signal, we plan to do our homework on that and design it properly so that we can limit the traffic backups as much as possible. So with that, if there's any other questions from the board, I can take that as far as traffic issues. But thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else online wishing to speak? Raise your virtual hand or unmute yourself, text. Nope, not seeing anybody there. Okay, that's it for public comments. I do feel the need to just say something only because it got a little out of hand there for a second. I voted in favor of the rezoning as a plan commission member, not because I was passionate about the project. The project didn't even come into play in my opinion. I voted in favor of the rezoning because it was part of our comprehensive plan and has been for decades. The project really had nothing to do with it in my mind, but of course that has already been announced and it is relevant. So with that, Alder Steinmetz?
I move approval of this project.
Is there a second?
Happy to second.
Seconded by Guthrie. Now, discussion.
If I may.
Absolutely.
Council and neighbors, thank you for the opportunity to speak about this rezoning request for the parcel of land. To the neighbors, I appreciate you taking the time to be involved and come out and speak. Our zoning ordinance makes it clear that R1 zoning is meant for neighborhoods of moderate density, single-family residences. The B4 zoning, by contrast, is intended to accommodate retail, commercial, office, service, and apartment uses along arterial streets. This parcel sits at the intersection of two 4-lane arterial roads immediately off I-39. This parcel is in what has been planned to be a commercial corridor for decades, since the comp plan in 2006, and as I learned last week, the comp plan in 1982 actually shows this as being commercial as well. For over 4 decades, it's been identified as commercial, just hasn't traded hands until recently. It meets every locational criteria for B4 and is poorly suited to remain R1. Economically, maintaining R1 zoning here is a missed opportunity. A B4 rezoning and development would broaden our tax base, helping to fund city operations and create jobs and services where residents already drive and live. In correspondence I've received from some neighbors, or from some neighboring this parcel, the golden rule has been cited as a reason to deny this rezoning request. I'd like to offer another thought experiment, one that I learned in my public sector economics course to help remove bias from decision making. The premise of this is that fair rules should be chosen without knowing whether we personally will benefit or be burdened. In this scenario, we don't know if we're landowners seeking to develop, neighbors concerned about the implications of change, or children needing jobs in 20 years. We therefore design rules, like a fair rezoning process, that balances interests of all stakeholders. Denying commercial opportunity near an interstate may protect a few existing homeowners' preferences, but does little for the single parent looking for a nearby job or for seniors on fixed incomes who need the tax base to pay for services. There's also a reputational cost to consider. Developers have choices. If Stevens Point adopts an inflexible stance towards reasonable, well-regulated projects, investors will go south to Plover or other municipalities that welcome them. The jobs, sales taxes, and property taxes will follow them. Good institutions, the rules of the game, are key to prosperity. When we turn away from well-planned investment, we signal our rules are unpredictable and hostile to business. That reputation can be hard to shed. Rezoning this parcel to B4 is a chance to align land use with our comprehensive plan and recognize that thriving commercial areas help pay for the amenities that make Stevens Point not just livable, but desirable. Fair institutions and fair rules will balance land stewardship with economic opportunity. By approving this rezoning, we would send a message that Stevens Point is a community that plans carefully, allocates its scarce resources wisely, welcomes investment passionately, and provides opportunity for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I have comments.
Alder Broderick, and then Alder Nebone.
I want to thank everyone who came out to speak tonight. I personally did not find all of the arguments that we heard to be compelling, frankly. I think the idea that this is a residential parcel seems a bit dated. I was a little taken aback when I realized what parcel we were talking about, since I am just one of many thousands of people that drives down that major arterial corridor. So to me, it is very clear that this should be commercially developed. I think it is a very prime piece of real estate in the city. I think it makes sense to be commercial. With that being said, I cannot support this rezoning tonight. I do not agree that B4 is an appropriate commercial designation. I think we should be looking at much lighter commercial uses for that space that will be more compatible with the wells nearby, as well as some of the resident concerns. So thank you again, everybody. And,
thank you. Alder Nebone.
I voted no at the Plan Commission, and I will vote no tonight on this. The problem with B1 is that gas stations and service stations and car washes are conditional uses, and once you have a conditional use, it's almost impossible, as Lynn Markham said, to deny that. I think this parcel could be very well zoned R5. That allows many of the commercial uses that the developer would like to have, like insurance offices, dentist offices, real estate, sales, bakeries, things like that. You could have some commercial on that corner. I think that's appropriate on on HH. But I think B4 is way too intense for the safety of the wellhead, for the safety and effects it would have on the residences. I think B4 is way too intense. I'm not opposed to a rezone to an R, a high R, because that will allow a lot of commercial use. That's not going to have the same kind of traffic effects or lights or noise or that kinds of things on the neighborhood. I think we have a responsibility to honor wellhead protection ordinances. And looking at this, it's right across the street. We have a gas station in my neighborhood in a wellhead protection area right next to a wetland area. And I don't care how well the technology was when those tanks were put in. The technology 50 years ago was good then, and they're all leaking now. There's no guarantee that anything, that my neighborhood is going to be safe, or our city wellhead protection area that that gas station sits in. There's no guarantee that that's going to be safe in the future. I just can't see myself doing to another neighborhood what was done to mine. I think B4 is way too intense, but I'm certainly open to a lower density, a lower level of commercial development that would be much less intrusive and give much less effects to the neighborhood. I just can't see it. It just doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification, the gas stations are allowed uses in those zoning districts. What's making it a conditional use, should it be proposed, is the fact that it's in a wellhead protection zone. Otherwise, they're allowed uses. Any other comments? Alder Lang.
Not according to our ordinance.
I see where I want to begin here. I'd like to, first of all, thank everybody who came out and spoke tonight, to hear the voices and the concerns of the people in our neighborhood. That's one of the things that, in this process, as a decision maker, I had not yet got. So thank you for providing that. As I got all the emails from y'all, and I was starting to write a reply email, and trying to I think this would be the way to go about talking about it, is just in front of everybody here. I got to do some homework. You guys sent me some emails, and I got to really dig into our guiding documents, and I found some of the things that, much like Pete said, I'm not sure I could see it both ways here. There isn't the clarity, I would say, that I was looking for. But what I do see in our boundary agreement with Plover is that groundwater is one of the concerns that we have before us. That what we are asking is, what do we want to see here? And when I look back at these documents, this intersection is designated to be commercial, and that's part of the boundary agreement. That is the things that Plover and Whiting and the city of Stevens Point back in '82 decided that intersection is going to have something commercial on it. You can look at the zoning maps from Whiting, and that corner is considered to be developed commercial as well through for Whiting's plan. Plover, same thing. That intersection is going to be commercial. Says Plover, says us, says Whiting. But what kind of commercial? That's, I think, the question. What we have is in front of us something that we can basically move right ahead with. When I was going through our financial assessment, this is one of the things that we've shrunk in. We do not have economic development. I believe it said 3% we're down?
No. 1.13 or something like that.
Okay. I'll have to pull it up here.
I'd love to have 3%.
Yeah. That we were down? Lost?
We're
Just
down,
on one little section.
We're down to about 1.16% or something like that.
Yeah. I'll pull it up here.
That should not be a deciding factor.
I know. It was just I was trying to look at this big picture. And what I see is we need that economic development. We need, as a community, to encourage revenue generation. We need somewhere to get money coming into our city. Is a gas station on that corner the best purpose of, highest use of that land? I'm not sure, because that's not really what's in front of me right now. I'm just looking at a rezoning. And from what I do see is, even if we rezone there is the conditional use process that we have to go through. So this is, do we just want to prevent it? And what are we preventing? I think what we're really looking at is we're preventing other future development from looking at us as like a place that stands by what we've said for decades. Maybe it's dated, but when I go stand there on that corner, it looks like it's a commercial corridor. When I talk to my people on my side of the city, it's like, yeah, we got to protect the water, but it's going to be commercial down there, and change is going to come. That's what was the gentleman that spoke there? There he is. It's like, it's going to happen. What does that change look like? I think that's what everybody here has to kind of balance right now. I see somebody who wants to invest in our community. I see people who say that investment's going to put everybody at risk. And that's where I don't see where, even though I can see that potential risk, the planning before us puts that as like, you can't do it. I see in our SSA, this is a concern, but we have put conditional use safeguards in place. I also have in front of me a committee that said no already. That's a big thing. But I also have a city staff that said approve it. And so what I would hope to see is that we could move forward in a more cooperative way, a more thoughtful way. Maybe sending this back to the committee to reassess what they want to do with the zoning determination. But when I think about it, it's like, it's really up to the property owner what they want to do. Do they want to go B4? Okay, that's their decision. Do they want to go R5? That's their call. But what they're asking us is for B4 right now. I don't see something that's in front of me right now that says, you can't let them do it. You can't let them do it. I'd have to go off a recommendation by my commissioners, and that's what I'm going to feel tonight, is a neighborhood and a commissioner that, like, I respect, because he's there. He did the study. He's like, we need some more thought on this first. And so I would like to see some more of that evidence of this has been thought through. The sanitary and storm sewer water service, how much is that going to cost to run down there for everybody? Because that's going to be a thing we invest in. The population changes and the school population changes. I didn't see anything about that yet. What does it look like when we have to deal with all that additional traffic and we still have families down there? If I have that information in front of me, I think that's something that will inform how I understand the safety and the welfare down there. I don't have that yet. I see the traffic study. I see there's some issues in it. Like you've brought that to us. There's going to be a traffic failure. What does that intersection design in the future look like? I don't know if a stoplight is the right answer. I don't know if roundabouts are. I'm not that expert. I'm not a traffic study guy. But I hear there's some concerns that I don't have evidence in front of me right now to answer. And so I don't want to ruin what city staff has worked so hard at and say no, but I would like to see some more consideration before we go and stamp this thing with an approval yet.
Thank you. Any other comments? Alderman Morrow.
I had a development in my area, which is by Citra Insurance, and one thing that really struck me was the developer worked with the neighborhoods. There was a lot of anger at first. There was a lot of there was also a lot of anger, a lot of other things that they didn't like about whatever the plan was. And the developer was able to work with the neighborhood, worked with the assisted living center, and they were able to come to an agreement of how to build out what he wanted to end up doing. And that did take time. And he did compromise on some things, and the community also did. But they did end up coming to an agreement. Now we have a development that's across from where I live, and I'm very happy about that. The developer just didn't talk with me, but talked with all of the neighbors. They had meetings and so on, and everything was civil. One thing that did come up again and again from a lot of the neighbors was how much Hoover has grown. It's talked about when it was just McDill Street, and if this growth is here or not, if this has changed or not, that traffic is still going to increase, no matter what. That's the way that Hoover was built, and that's not going to really change. The concern is, all right, if we end up saying no, he's going to go across the street in Plover, and it's not, and that's what's going to end up. I mean, that's in reality, that's what's going to happen. There's nothing that we can do about it because it's not point. And it's the town of Plover, and their rules are a lot looser than what the city of Stevens Point is. And then Plover's going to get the tax money, and we're going to not have anything able there. I mean, and that developer, that was his land, he could do a lot of what he wants, and there's nothing that we could really do about that. He could clear cut the whole lot. And I know that the concerns about the water too. I mean, once the wellhead is polluted, it's done. You just can't pour chlorine down there and clean that. And that's one of the concerns that I have as well. I mean, growth is going to happen. It's not potato farms, it's not dairy farms anymore. And Hoover is going to, and the growth is going to continue to go out there. My hope is that the developer will be able to work with the neighborhood to try to work something out. And not end up going over to Plover across the street, and we'll see how that ends up going. But the only one comment was made. The only consistent thing is really change. I look back where I live. There are farm fields, and now there are houses and gas stations. I don't think we need another car wash, though. Thank you very much.
Fair enough. Any other comments, Alder Christensen?
I tend to typically find myself in the middle. I'm more moderate on most of the things. As I listen to the other comments, I probably would echo most closely with what Alder Broderick mentioned. I do see it as a commercial corridor. I would be more comfortable with a B1 than a B4. I think, but that being said, that's not what we're being asked to consider. I'd be more comfortable if it'd be lots 1 and 2 and then a different designation for the area to the north. I think right along Double H, the traffic is going to increase. That's going to happen. Whether or not something happens in these lots, that's going to become a reality. That's how things are evolving in other areas that aren't being considered for rezoning. I do think it's a tough decision. There's a lot of things to weigh. I do appreciate everyone taking the time and coming here and sharing their views and sending the emails. I will tell you, one thing that was refreshing was all of the emails were original and well thought out and well presented. Sometimes you get 19 pretty much identical emails, and that wasn't the case. It was quite obvious that people had taken time and actually shared their own original concerns and thoughts. So I do appreciate the amount of time and effort that was put into that as well. Not just coming here this evening either. There was, obviously it's something you guys do feel strongly about, so. I wish it was an easier decision.
That's what we get paid the little bucks for. Any other comments?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I guess.
Alder Burke.
I guess I kind of, fall in between kind of what Alder Broderick said and Alder Kneebone. I definitely view it as a commercial corridor too, but I think the B4 is a little, too much? What did you say? It's a little too much. Too intense. Too intense, right. But yeah, I like Chairperson Christensen, there we go, got it, said too, I do appreciate all of the emails, because I did see that too. I was like, okay, everybody, it's not just a copy paste, everyone's taking the time, and I really did appreciate that as well. I apologize I didn't get back to everybody, but I replied to most of you. And yeah, I appreciate you guys coming out and all that too, and yeah, like I said, I will probably be voting no on this as well, just because the B4 is a little too much, I think, with the wellhead protection stuff.
Any other comments? You already went. Any other
If
comments?
anybody wants to go first, I got one.
Just have one quick one.
All right, second time around, Alder Nebo and then Alder Lang.
For those of you familiar with Madison, I grew up in Monona when the Beltline was a 2-lane road, so I understand what it's like when it goes from 2 to 4. I think it's 6 now and built right over a wet area, so yeah.
Alder Lang?
I just wanted to thank our city staff. When I got these emails and understood how uninformed I was on many of these things, I went right down to our city staff and they gave me time. And I'm also colorblind. So knowing what is on a map when it's all color-coded, I need a human being that can see in color. And so that's how I kind of was like, when I was hearing some things tonight that there's no B4 next to residential, like, no, Adam showed me on a map and pointed all the things out there for me. I was like, okay. So I just wanted to say thanks to our city staff. They gave me a lot of time this past week to understand these things, and thank you for that. I got some answers there.
Thank you very much. All right. I want to thank everybody for coming out. One thing I am passionate about is the process, and you participated with that tonight. I got to tell you, looking at the room, our zoning administrator would be happy if half of the people in this room showed up for any of our zoning meetings. So be part of the process. Get involved, and that's not just for you, that's for everybody watching too, because we're doing that right now. Don't wait till it comes to this. Be part of the process as we're planning it. And I stand by my you can't unpee in a pool comment. With that, the motion is to approve the rezoning request to B4 commercial. If you are in favor, you will vote yes. If you are opposed, you will vote no, and the clerk will call that roll.
Christensen?
Aye.
Guthrie? Aye. Keemer?
No.
Broderick?
No.
Burr?
No.
Steinmetz?
Aye.
Kneebone?
No.
Shuda?
No.
Lang?
Aye.
Boozy?
Aye.
And Morrow.
Aye.
Wow. Did not see that one coming. 6-1 is what I have in favor.
6 to 5.
6 to 5. The zoning request is approved.
It's just how we got the gas station in my neighborhood.
At the advice of my bladder, we are going to recess for 5 minutes. It is 9:11. We will see you at 9:16. We will reconvene the Common Council. It looks like most everybody's cleared out. We will move on to item number 10. Item number 10 is an ordinance amendment, a request to amend section 3.29 of the revised municipal code regarding compensation for police and fire commissioners. Alder Kneebone.
I will move to approve that ordinance amendment.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion?
Who's the second?
Oh, I'm sorry, Steinmetz was the second. Discussion? Comments from the audience? Sorry. Comments online?
I guess I will.
By all means, Chief.
There's very few things I'm going to speak on this evening, but this is one of them. I would just like to say on behalf of the PFC, we appreciate this effort in moving this forward from $30 to $50 a meeting. As the chief of the Stevens Point Fire Department, I work with all the police and fire commissioners very closely, along with the alders. Obviously all of you, but having a liaison and having to work with them on operations and everything involved, and Alder Kneebone as our liaison to the PFC, the PFC members put a lot of time and effort into that position and to moving the departments forward. So I know I do appreciate this, and I know they will as well as this gesture. So thank you on behalf of the PFC and from the fire department.
Thank you.
Actually, I'll make a comment too. I'll piggyback on what Chief Moody said. I see these guys in their meetings every month, and they take their job very seriously. They're very cognizant of their responsibility to the firefighters, the police officers, the line folks, and the citizens, and the taxpayers. So the $20 extra won't go very far for them, but it shows that we appreciate the effort. They're just citizens that volunteer to do it, and they do it very well, and they're very well prepared, and they work very hard. So
thank you. Any other comments?
And that $20 extra is actually less when you account for purchasing parity than when that last change was made. So $50 makes sense.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, the motion is to approve. Clerk, please call the roll.
Morrow?
Aye.
Boozy?
Aye.
Lang?
Aye.
Shuda?
Aye.
Kneebone?
Aye.
Steinmetz?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Broderick?
Aye.
Keemer?
Aye.
Guthrie?
Aye.
And Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 11 is a resolution combining two or more wards for voting purposes to facilitate the use of common polling places. There was a memo included in your packet going back to July. Clerk Pagel, anything you'd like to add there?
I would just like to say the acquisition of Badger books by downsizing polling locations was approved by council Common Council last month, but further requires an ordinance amendment and a resolution. And that's what you're approving in the packet today on the agenda. We are facing some challenges in the upcoming election cycle, including the loss of a polling location, along with potential retirement of several chief inspectors, downsizing from 11 polling locations to 6, and acquiring Badger books would pay for itself in one election cycle and continue to deliver long-term savings that would support the city's budget and ease the burden on taxpayers. It would also improve efficiency both in the city clerk office as well as the polls by reducing all the manual data entry and helping modernize the overall voting experience.
Keemer.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Thank you. Seconded by Lang. Keemer and Lang. Discussion there?
I just want to say thank you to Clerk Ganter and Clerk Pagel for all of their work on this and making such a thoughtful and strategic decision. I think this is a really good change.
Thank you. Any other comments? Alder Lang?
This is something that I know the clerk's office has been working on for some time now. And this past spring election, it was one of these things that I was talking with both Ganter and Pagel about. And so I'm kind of excited to see that we've got it this far and that this cost savings to operating our elections is in front of us. I hope to see it pass.
Thank you. Any comments from the audience? Anyone online? For those watching at home and watching at a later date, I would urge you, if this passes, to check your polling location to make sure that you know where you got to be when the next election rolls around. Hearing none, if you are in favor of the motion, you will vote yes. If you are opposed, you will vote no, and the clerk will call that roll.
Christensen?
Aye.
Guthrie? Aye. Keemer?
Aye.
Broderick?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Steinmetz?
Aye.
Kneebone?
Aye.
Shuda?
Aye.
Lang?
Aye.
Uzi?
Aye.
And Morrow.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 12 is an ordinance amendment of Chapter 15, Section 15.03, as it relates to polling locations. We have 6 polling locations that are going to be considered, and that is before you.
I would move approval.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Seconded by Kneebone. Christensen Kneebone. Discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Was there something wrong with the Stevens Point Rec Center for the Area 11? For the rec center where we have been voting?
The reason why they combined the way they did is because a lot of the students from 11 could then vote at the university.
Okay.
To make it easier for them.
Okay, great.
Just to restate, for those again watching, Districts 1 and 4 will vote at Midstate Technical College. Districts 2 and 5 would vote at the Stevens Point Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Center. Districts 3 and 11 would vote at the Dreyfus University Center. Districts 6 and 7 would vote at Beloved Community Church. District 8 would be at St. Paul's United Methodist Church. And Districts 9 and 10 would be at the Lincoln Center or ADRC. If there are no other comments, we'll call a roll. Clerk?
Morrow?
Aye.
Boozy?
Aye.
Lang?
Aye.
Shuda?
Aye.
Kneebone?
Aye.
Steinmetz?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Broderick?
Aye.
Keemer?
Aye.
Guthrie?
Aye.
And Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 13 is to award the Fall Paving Project 25-103 to Stuczynski Trucking and Excavating out of Stevens Point, Wisconsin, in an amount not to exceed $895,721.78.
I so move. I believe that's Green Avenue.
Motion to approve by Shuda.
Second.
Seconded by Morrow. Discussion.
Fix those roads.
Comments from the audience?
Roads are expensive.
Online or otherwise? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Christensen?
Aye.
Guthrie?
Aye.
Keemer?
Aye.
Broderick?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Steinmetz?
Aye.
Kneebone?
Aye.
Shuda?
Aye.
Lang?
Aye.
Boozy?
Aye.
And Morrow.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 14 is to award the Concrete Pavement Repair Project 25-106 to Vinton Construction Company out of Two Rivers, Wisconsin, in the amount not to exceed $204,855.25.
So moved.
Moved by Alder Lang to approve.
Second.
Seconded by Steinmetz. Discussion? Comments for the audience or online? Seeing and hearing none, clerk, please call that roll.
Morrow?
Aye.
Boozy?
Aye.
Lang?
Aye.
Shuda?
Aye.
Kneebone?
Aye.
Steinmetz?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Broderick?
Aye.
Keemer?
Aye.
Guthrie?
Aye.
And Christensen?
Aye.
And that's approved. You realize we've gotten through more items in the last 10 minutes than we did in the first 2 hours? Item number 15 is an ordinance amendment to approve the amendments to Chapter 9, Section 9.05 as it relates to parking.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Boozy, seconded by Lang. Discussion. Yes, sir.
As somebody who receives complaints almost on the month, let's say it, every couple of weeks. Yeah. I'm so glad to see this on our agenda. There's a chronic issue in a couple of places in my district, and this, I feel, is a great way to combat some of the people who are deciding to lay rubber in certain places in our neighborhoods.
Around 15.
City Attorney? Do you have something? You were stepping up.
He's previewing the one that I am going to step up.
Oh, that's not the one we're on?
Yeah, we're
a different one?
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about parking.
I didn't know they were so passionate about parking and all the complaints you got about parking. Oh, wow.
Wasn't that like unnecessarily accelerated, that comment?
Wow. That comment was unnecessarily accelerated. Hang on now. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Still parking.
Parking.
Any comments on number 15, parking? All right, clerk, please call that roll.
Christensen?
Aye.
Guthrie? Aye. Keemer?
Aye.
Broderick?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Steinmetz?
Aye.
Kneebone?
Aye.
Shuda?
Aye.
Lang?
Aye.
Boozy?
Aye.
And Morrow.
Aye.
And that's approved. I know it's got us all revved up. Item number 16, the Ordinance Amendment, Chapter 9, Section 9.01 and 9.20, as it relates to provisions of the state traffic law adopted by reference and unnecessary acceleration. City Attorney, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, so this is a bit of an oddball kind of technical thing to explain. So I had a case recently where this drunk driving case, defendant had taken off from the corner at 3rd and Clark and, peeled out when flying down the road at a high rate of speed. Officer cited him for unnecessary acceleration, which I've seen enough tickets for that over the years. But if you look at a citation for that, it'll say Local Ordinance 9.01, which is the one in our traffic code that adopts all the parts of the state statutes and everything like that. And then in the box where it references the specific state statute, it actually contains something from the Department of Transportation Administrative Code. But then if you look that up, it's a line that says unnecessary acceleration, but it's just the part of their code that establishes the demerit points for various types of violations. There's not actually a substantive violation there with any sort of elements that could be considered by a court or anything like that. So it's a little weird. But then there's a case annotation there that there was a case that went to court years back where the courts held that a local ordinance prohibiting unnecessary acceleration was within the authority of a city to create. So this ordinance will create that ordinance for us at the local level, but oddly enough, it'll be one of possibly our only local ordinance that has demerit points associated with it, because it appears in the code for demerit points, which is a little weird. But while I was at it, I noticed that we did not currently have any of the transportation regulations adopted in our code. And we are authorized to adopt certain parts of it. Obviously, there's a bunch of stuff in there that we don't have anything to do with, but there's a lot of violations in there for equipment on vehicles, tires, lights, bumpers, etc. So this will create an unnecessary acceleration ordinance and adopt all of the portions of the Transportation Administrative Code that we are authorized by law to adopt.
Thank you.
There you go.
Alder Lang, did you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I would move approval on this.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Seconded by Keeber. Discussion? Comments from the audience or online? Seeing none, clerk, please call that roll.
Morrow?
Aye.
Boozy?
Aye.
Lang?
Aye.
Shuda?
Aye.
Kneebone?
Aye.
Steinmetz?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Broderick?
Aye.
Keemer?
Aye.
Guthrie?
Aye.
And Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 17 is a disallowance of a claim from Melissa Clendenning, who tripped and fell in a city-owned parking lot.
I would move to disallow.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Boozy. Discussion?
Is Miss Clendenning here?
Is Ms. Clendenning here? I know everybody here, so no, but I'm going to ask anyway. Online, maybe?
Okay.
Nope. Does not appear so. Any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, if you are in favor of the denial, you will vote yes. If you are opposed to the denial, you will vote no, and the clerk will call that roll.
Christensen.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
And Morrow.
Aye.
And that claim is disallowed. Item number 18 is a request from the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Stevens Point to adopt a blight determination resolution and transfer ownership of the Shopko properties with the parcels identified in your packet to the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Stevens Point.
Move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
motion by Burr,
Second.
seconded by Lang. Discussion there? Comments from the audience or online? Seeing and hearing none, clerk, please call that roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
And Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 19 is a notice of release of letter of intent and a request to release a request for proposals for the former Edgewater Manor site with the parcel identified in your packet and the adjacent parcel also mentioned in your packet.
I'll move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Lang. Discussion?
Sure would be nice to get something on that.
It sure would be. Hearing, any comments from the audience or online? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll, clerk.
Christensen.
Aye.
Guthrie.
Aye.
Keemer.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
And Morrow.
And that is approved. Item number 20 is a request for public input on the draft of Chapter 1 of the Comprehensive Plan and acceptance to place on file and make available for additional public input. A memo is included in your packet from Director Kivala on page 137. What are your wishes?
Move approval.
Moved by Alder Lang,
Second.
seconded by Burr. Discussion.
I loved all the discussion that I was seeing while I was watching the YouTube video on that. That was very thoughtful and deliberate. Watching both, well, that's the kind of stuff I enjoy to see. Like, as Mary has said, urban planning's sexy. It was great to watch you guys do your work up there. It's a draft plan, so I hope to see some tweaks yet in this sort of thing, but I loved what I was watching there.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other comments? Comments from the audience? Seeing and hearing none. Oh,
The director would like.
oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. I looked right past you.
No, totally okay. I will keep it short. I just wanted to point out too, we wanted to bring this to you guys per direction of the Plan Commission. We have been working with the Plan Commission and North Central Wisconsin Regional Plan Commission to try to get the format of this plan down, to make sure we really have that ironed out. This is kind of the first opportunity for the council to see that format. Currently, the Plan Commission is looking at several other chapters that will be consistently, evaluated and critiqued. So I really appreciate the Plan Commission's thoroughness in this process. And if there are any other comments after this, if you take a look or anything like that, please feel free to email my office.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing and hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Morrow.
Aye.
Boozy.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Shuda.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Steinmetz.
Aye.
Burr.
Aye.
Broderick.
Aye.
Keemer. Aye. Guthrie. Aye. And Christensen.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 21 is on page 156 of your packet. That is approval of a letter of intent for the Forest Creek Subdivision Lot Reservation and Marketing Program. Director, do you want to add anything to your memo?
Just short, I guess. I guess when we were going through this process, we thought we'd have a lot more interest than we actually are having. So staff is really just trying to get creative, think of new ways to get developers in there, try to get some diversity of housing in there. Right now, which kudos to them because they are building. We do only have one main developer that is building some houses in there currently. So we're trying to increase diversity and just try to get more interest in the subdivision, which we hope this will work. If it doesn't work, we can always end it. If it does work, it might be a great kind of process to implement on other lots throughout the city. So.
Thank you.
Is this type of thing done in other cities quite commonly?
Yeah.
Similar, yeah. Timing is different, whether there's a fee associated with it, a reservation fee, that's different. I guess I can't say it's in countless communities, but we've heard of a few others that have tried something similar. It's usually with just one lot, not a whole subdivision, but trying to offer that to them to, I guess, similar to what we did with Pelton Builders for Edgewater. We kind of offer to them for 6 months, do their due diligence, try to figure it out if it works. So similar process.
And as this date, how many out of how many lots have been actually sold?
Sorry, the question is how many have been sold?
Yeah.
So to date, it's in a memo I wrote for Plan Commission, but I believe there are 15 committed to, 9 are in process or are going to be getting occupancy within the next couple weeks.
Thank you.
If you take a drive by, it's pretty impressive.
Yep.
Okay, before we vote, Andrea Olson chimed in on the chat. She would like to say something on this item. Go ahead, Andrea.
Andrea Olson, 410 Franklin Street, and I really like that you're doing this. This is being creative and trying to figure out how to lower the risk for developers in a risky environment right now with everything that's going on. So I think that this is a great idea, and I'm really happy that you're doing this.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I have a comment. On the agenda, if you click on that item, it actually comes up for the funding request for phase 2 of the.
I wasn't going to point it out in front of everybody, but the title of that is a typo. If you read the actual content, it is about the letter of intent.
Okay. Thank you. Back to the city.
Yeah. We're good.
Thanks, Joel.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious to the fee structure, basically, where I'm reading we have 3 lots before they start having to pay a fee. I was just curious the thinking behind that, instead of like each lot, if you're going to reserve it, it's a fee.
And that page over to the director.
Yeah, I would say, I think those numbers could be adjusted to whatever would be desired. If you wanted to be, oh, look at that.
We don't need to talk about that now. You can answer the question.
That was really a test for you guys, so you
It
passed.
was.
I'm really proud of you.
I didn't call you out in front of everybody.
You could have, that's okay.
I could.
I'm sorry, Joel.
Can't target.
So those numbers, they could certainly be adjusted to however we felt. In talking with, city staff and some builders, it's felt as though, well, you don't want one developer coming in and taking up a swath of 15 lots and then holding those on the market. You want to, maybe give them something, give them a little bit of a carrot, but also if they want more, have them contribute something so that they have some skin in the game. 3 was felt as though it was a pretty even number that gives a builder 3 opportunities to build a home. And, if they were to, get a buyer for any one of those 3, they can come back for another one for an additional lot, and they can just keep doing that. So 3 kind of keeps them honest, whereas 5, they may not put in the work for all 5.
Let's call it on task.
I like it.
We assume everybody we deal with is honest.
Hope so.
Any other questions for the director? Otherwise, oh, yes, sir.
We did something similar to this for Whitetail subdivision, so people just went and buy lots and hold them. They had to end up, they had like start to build within like a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is not forcing them to buy the lot. They're only buying the lot within that 6 months if they have a buyer or they're ready to act on it. If they're 3 months in and they're like, yep, let's sign the offer, we'll sign the offer. That 24-month occupancy requirement is in the deed restrictions. So they will need to, once they make an offer on the lot and purchase it, they will need to build within 24 months or face penalties. So.
Any other questions?
I got one.
Absolutely.
Any idea as to how much this will speed up development?
If I gave you an estimate, I would purely be guessing.
Okay.
I cannot give you an honest estimate. Based on the developers we've talked to, there should be at least 2 that are interested in the area. Whether they actually choose to act on it or not, I can't say for sure. But again, if we're not seeing this work, we can always end it and we can always try something new.
All right.
All right. Any other questions? We'll call the roll. Clerk?
Christensen?
Aye.
Guthrie?
Aye.
Keemer? Aye. Broderick?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Steinmetz?
Aye.
Kneebone?
Aye.
Shuda?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Boozy?
Aye.
And Morrow.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 22 is discussion on the replacement of City Hall at 1039 Ellis Street, at the 1039 Ellis Street parcel, and action on building a new facility or remodeling the current building at that site, forwarded from Finance without recommendation. We had Andrea Olson sign up. Andrea?
Yes. On this topic, I think that we are putting, the cart before the horse. When I I keep getting told that all the information from the past is on our city's website. You should easily be able to find it. I searched for hours for past information on our plans for the past 20 years. I have to say, you really, unless you're going to spend multiple hours and still guess and then click on every single meeting and all the meeting minutes, good luck finding anything. And then when you think you do find something, guess what? A past presentation isn't actually included in that agenda or the notes. But from piecing together what I have been able to piece together of the history of all of this is that we don't know what we currently have. We have, per the most recent city exempt properties, we have 816 city exempt properties right now. We have, in one presentation in the past, there's 8 offices that intermingle and work together. I think it was 67 visits per day happen at City Hall. How many actually happen right now at City Hall? We haven't looked at that number. At least it hasn't been presented that I saw. Like, we haven't actually figured out what feet together, because engineering is taking up a whole floor if we go for the renovate option. What if engineering wasn't in that building? Suddenly the square footage that is needed for anywhere is a lot less. Maybe we look back at one of the other past options, like Executive Place or something like that, or a building that the city already owns, where suddenly less square footage is now needed. Suddenly a $14, $16, $18 million project could get brought down to $5 million. Putting engineering then with parks, because parks didn't want to be in City Hall because
Andrea, I got to stop you there because we're getting off topic. Any of those places, engineering still needs a home. We are talking about 1039 Ellis Street. Build new or remodel.
Well, how do you actually know which one you should be able to do at that location or at another location when you don't have all of the information already on hand to know what might, like, if that is a good option? Like, you don't actually fully know what departments should be together. You don't know if maybe the police department and fire department should go together on Highway 10 down in the future.
Andrea, it may not be apparent to you, but we've done extensive discussions and research in talking about departmental adjacencies. We are past that discussion. We are talking about 1039 Ellis Street tonight. Build new or remodel. Do you have something germane to that topic?
And that is why this is a discussion. Because neither. Because should you do one or should you do the other? Yes, you might have done the research, but you never had anybody from the outside look at your look at the properties that you already own. Look at other options. You have, what was the quote? I think that in the presentation from the Somerville, it's in the New
the people from outside.
You said that they were given direction by the mayor. So you told them that you wanted these departments in City Hall. You wanted that. Yes, that could have come from everybody, all the departments right now, but that is not somebody from the outside, a third party looking at the basic efficiencies. If you look at Madison's, their comprehensive plan. One of their comprehensive plan things is locate community facilities to provide high level of service to all neighborhoods. Create a long-range facilities plan to guide the city or the siting of city facilities. Co-locate community facilities to improve services provisions and reduce capital and operating costs. We have nothing in our comprehensive plan like that. If you look at our comprehensive plan, the city is still expanding in the courthouse. The courthouse is getting cleared out and the city is expanding there. We don't have a third party.
We have not expanded in the courthouse at all.
One or the other.
We have 27% and we have not expanded in the courthouse at all.
But that is what your comprehensive plan says.
Then it's wrong, and we're going to get that changed. Director Kivela,
That's
please.
great that it's getting updated, but that was the
Thank you very
plan.
much, Andrea. Do you have anything else to add?
Neither option is viable. Like, I still view it as neither option they should not be the exclusive options right now.
Thank you.
A facility study was never done. You don't know how many buildings you have. You don't know the conditions of those buildings to know like where you really should invest. Maybe another department should get moved into City Hall, which that would drive your plans. But at this time, you don't have all of that information. And even when the Common Council voted on this to get that information back in April, and that information was never provided.
Thank you very much, Andrea. We do have Justin Marcus here waiting patiently for 3 hours. Oh, there he is, hiding in the back by the piano. We asked him to be here representing Somerville, who, by the way, did take a look at the outside information and did take into account what the departments see as adjacencies. And before you tonight is a request that we talk about either building new on that site or renovating the current option. Alder Schuda?
I will make a motion for the new building.
I'll second.
Thank you. Seconded by Keemer. Discussion on those topics.
Well, you were getting ready to go. You were like, you get big.
I'm sorry, was that Keemer's hand? Mm-hmm.
I was going to give Shuda if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start with Schuda and then Keemer because they made and seconded the motion, and then we'll
Between
on the horn.
Between the two, in my mind, there's no doubt the new would be the best way to go. It also allows for possible expansion later, but based on the Stantec, is that what it's called? The
Somerville did the study?
The ground.
Stantec is ground, yeah.
Ground. So that's...
And to be fair, we take a chance with any time
Right.
we crack the surface. Alder Keemer.
Thank you. I guess I just want to say that, a year or two ago when the county board started working more collaboratively and cooperatively, both within the county board and with the city, I was really excited. I know that these needs for the county courthouse and the jail and city hall, it's been decades in the making, and it just seemed like real progress was being made. And this land swap agreement seemed very promising. I think if there were better options available, we would have found them by now. And I do think a lot of that was discussed in closed session. A lot of those buildings ended up not being available, or just not having other amenities that were considered critical or necessary for a city hall. I did not think that a new build was going to be financially viable. I just assumed that the renovation would be cheaper significantly. But I do think that there seems to be a lot more unknowns with the renovation, despite the relative similarity in costs. And I did speak to a lot of city staff and a lot of department heads. It was important for me to know what they thought. And I just think this is the best option before us. We do have a crucial timeline. I think it might seem like we're moving fast, but I think it's because things moved slow for so long. And now everyone's talking to each other and working together, and I just want to reward and encourage that. So,
Thank you. Start on this end.
Oh, thank you. As I've said before, this is a once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-generation project for us. The city hall that we built will be for our needs, and we can plan it that way as well. City halls last oftentimes 50 to 100 years, and this is something that we'll be able to do. This will be a showcase for our city as well, and we could make it pleasant for our staff, make it pleasant for the residents, build it exactly the way that we want, for exactly what we need it for, And we could also have a plan for when our city does expand, because I have no doubts that our city will expand. And I know this is the beginning process of that, because then we're going to have the input from all the department heads and so on, and the developer and the planner and so on, to try to get it all the way that we need it. And I know this is going to be a very hard process to go through, especially with the cost for any capital type of capital project. I know the county's going to have to do this too for a new jail, a new courthouse, but it's going to cost a lot more than what we're going to do. But I'm also for a new build.
Thank you. Anyone else on this side of the table?
Sure.
This is a huge decision. I get it. It's got to be fair to everybody.
I was looking at this, and I'm very much nothing makes sense on the renovation side of things. I feel like we're throwing good money after bad going that route. Having looked into some things, I was kind of curious to how the 2018 thing kind of went off the rails. I just was looking for some perspective on that and some background. But from what I have in front of me, I think we have a good plan going forward. I know that some people have reached out to say that the parking there at Arlington and Water, we got 2 parking lots right there as a city, that could be our city hall and all that kind of thing. And that's where I've kind of I'm not sure of all the background on that.
You just approved a letter of intent.
It's so when I was looking at it, I was like, oh yeah, we've been at this for a long time. We've been trying to get City Hall moved out of the county building for a while here, and we've taken a few cracks at it, and for whatever reasons, we haven't got there yet. And as Keemer had made mention to, it's sometimes like a dam bursts, and now we finally can get somewhere on something. I feel that's where we're at, and I would like to see us take advantage of those opportunities when we have them. Is it right? Does it fit? I don't know. I got to trust the staff and the engineers that this is what the people that are going to be doing there want, need. That's what I have in front of me, is the people that are going to be working for us have asked for these kind of space, this kind of layout, and I'd hope that we can listen to that.
Thank you. Moving this way.
You got nothing?
Alder Kneebone?
Yeah, I will say this. Ms. Olson is correct. We did request a list of all the city-owned properties a few months ago, and we have not yet received that from any department. However, saying that, we made a commitment to keep City Hall downtown because the courthouse is going to be downtown. There are businesses downtown that rely on the traffic that comes into City Hall. So that was a pledge that this council made quite a while ago, I think. So I always talk about how, as we have to raise our budgets, how that affects people like me on a fixed income. And I can't believe I'm going to say this. Even though the build new is more expensive, I think it's the right way to go. I think there's some problems inherent in the building now that are going to make it very difficult to get what's going to work the best for the staff and for the citizens. So as much as I like to see the line held on costs, I do agree probably that the new build is the way to go.
Anyone else?
I would agree with that as well. I'm in favor of a new build just because the prices are so similar and the timelines are relatively similar as well. I know the build new is longer, but I was expecting it to be drastically longer. We know what we're getting when we're building new, which I think is great. We get to tailor it to our needs, so our operational costs should be more in line with our needs, and we're not paying for that, was it white space, blank space on the 4th floor?
Yeah.
Main thing that I would put in the pro column for a renovation is Mr. Pavelski's point of what if the county isn't amenable to us doing anything other than renovating. That would be my only concern.
And I don't want to speak for Mr. Pavelski, but I think it's the 1039 site in regards to the land swap, not necessarily renovation, but a build new option would be acceptable. The county executive acknowledged.
Oh, okay.
I think it's the 1039 site that is the concern, because that was the negotiated land swap for that purpose.
Oh, okay. Now I understand. Thank you.
Great. Down the line?
Am I looking at the same numbers as you?
No.
Okay.
Alder Broderick?
I'll speak.
Okay.
I think we are often in the uncomfortable position in this body of having to make decisions without perfect information. This is definitely one of those times. I mean, we have a process that's been going on for many, many years, well before my time on the council. We still have a lot of unknowns. I think what we have to ask ourselves today is, do we feel like these unknowns are going to play a big enough role in this decision that we would decide otherwise, right? Are we going to learn anything that makes us say we should not be building or renovating, we should be moving to another site, for example? We should be bringing in other departments for this site. I don't believe it is the case that any of this unknown information will lead us to that decision. I think that we have done our due diligence in looking at the possibilities for City Hall. Furthermore, I have been an advocate for building new for quite some time. I think we all assumed it would be prohibitively expensive, so I was very pleased to see the quote surprisingly comparable. It is a little uncomfortable to say we're moving forward here when we feel like there are things we don't know yet. I do want to acknowledge and validate that. However, I think to me, building new on this site is the pretty clear path forward. That is what I would like to suggest we do tonight.
Thank you. Alder Guthrie? Alder Christensen?
Absolutely. And it's not an accident that the mayor chose to have me go last, because he knows I'm adamantly opposed to both of these options. Of the two, there's no doubt that building new is the better option. Totally agree with that. As one of 4 alders that were on here when we were considering this prior, I know there's a lot of information that was gathered and considered, and I look back and compare what we were given for pros and cons tonight to the information that we had back in 2018, or 2021 rather, and they don't match up. Concerned as Chair of Finance, this is an expensive option. This is, and could go even higher. We know there's a lot of unknowns, and so with potential contamination from an auto repair, from a dry cleaner, from underground storage tanks, as the mayor mentioned, anytime you crack open the ground, you don't know for sure where you're going to be setting. When we took a look at this back in 2021, we did look at Executive Place, and I firmly believe that it's a much better option than the new option. When we were looking at it then, they felt that it had over 10,000 square feet extra space that we don't even need. 14,047 was the amount we were quoted at that point, so it's plenty big enough. We've had the mayor, finally, at this meeting, we got the proper number of parking spaces. We've been told on an ongoing basis that there's 8 or 12, 10 or 12. There's 22, including a handicap accessible. So we do finally have an accurate parking thing, and that combined with city parking over next to the castle would be easily adequate parking, wouldn't jeopardize our Shopko redevelopment in any way, shape, or form. It says, the one thing I do agree with on the pros and cons, it said current estimated fair market value, $5,000 or $5,800,000, and it's listed for $4.4 million. So we could actually purchase it. It's online right now for almost $1.5 million under what's considered fair market value. Obviously, a good value. When we were looking, and that would require very little renovation, because it's not like 1039 Ellis where renovation would require you to take open spaces and build walls and do a lot of stuff. It's presently a well-maintained office building with very nice offices and plenty of space. They estimated in 2021 that it was going to take probably between $1.5 and $2.5 million to renovate on the outside. Add that onto the 4.4, and you're looking at most $7 million. $7 million for a building that was built not that long ago, 2011, I think, as I recall. So I mean, it's
2006, according to the document in front of you.
According to the listing online, I think it was 2011, but if 2006 might be 19 years old, so less than 20 years old. As compared to the building we're in right now. 2006, 19 years old, a quality building built with offices with plenty of space, and we could have it for $7 million as opposed to $17 million. We've been listening to diatribes over the last countless months of how tight of a budget we have. The reason this didn't go forward with a recommendation from finance was because I felt there wasn't enough information. We hadn't taken a complete look at things. The other advantage of executive place is it would move up the timeline, and the timeline is of paramount importance for both the city and for the county. With a purchase of executive place, the timeline would be shortened and the county would be able to move ahead more quickly. So there's no downside there either. I see very little downside to that option, and yet it's been avoided in conversation, even though it was one of the primary contenders 4 years ago. I would strongly urge us to, if nothing else, do our due diligence and consider a third option and not approve either of the two being presented tonight. Put it on hold. 1 month isn't going to make the difference. Or we could have a special meeting just for that purpose. Either one, I think when you're taking a look at potentially a $10 million difference in projects, I think if we're going to do our job and do our due diligence, we need to take a look and consider all options.
Thank you. For clarification, Alderperson, your number estimates for remodel and the timeline, can you tell us what those were based on? Because the Somerville estimates are based on actual expenses and times.
Right, and of course, renovation of a blank building like what the 1039 Ellis would be. I'm basing it on the documentation that was given to us back in 2021, November 8th, 2021, and it said, please expect to budget another $1.5 to $2.5 million on remodeling the building for city functions. So that's not my number. That's the number that we were presenting.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that most people understand that prices are different than they were in 2021.
So even if you add 50% onto that, we're looking at $8 million.
Actually, Alderperson, what I'm using is the actual numbers from actual builds that Somerville did and their remodel and build new costs, which were included in your packet. You saw those?
Yeah, I did.
Thank you.
But I also know that it's not going to, most of that building's not going to require any renovation. So the $2.5 million, and I haven't been in there since today, but no, it's a well-maintained building, less than 20 years old. I think at least we need to give it due consideration. If a month from now, after we've taken a look at that option, we decide it's not going to work, then I would support the new option, because I think that the new over renovation does make sense. I just think we need to do our due diligence.
Thank you. And I would submit that we already did. Staff and experts in the field and even the Common Council through our closed session discussions have ruled those out.
Right.
Are there any directors that wish to speak on anything?
I just want to...
Sorry, Alderperson, I did not recognize you.
No, I haven't yielded the floor yet.
It's not a yield, it's at the discretion of the chair.
It said In all, it appears to be a reasonable location for a city hall, provided we can purchase the property for a reasonable price.
In 2021.
And if we can get it for $1.5 million less than what fair market value, I think it probably meets the reasonable price criteria.
I do not deny that. Thank you.
Okay.
Any directors wishing to speak? Okay. There's a lot of looks, but nobody's moving. Alderperson Nebo.
I had one quick question. How many city staff people will be working in the new city hall?
All of them.
But what's the number?
Oh, wow. I am not prepared to answer that.
So you're moving
Because
parks
with-
and police into there?
Alderperson?
With
said all of them.
22, excuse me.
All the city hall.
I'm talking.
Let me run it through my head real quick. There are 3 in my office, 3 regular in the clerk's office.
Yes.
Jared, how many on your department? I was going to say 10 real quick. 5 in the treasurer's office, 2 in the city attorney's office, 2 in IT, 2 in municipal court. And Scott's not here. I'm going to ballpark that and say probably another 8, 9? Okay, I was going to say 10, but 8 or 9. And then, yeah,
So
that's it.
slightly more than 22 parking spaces.
Yeah, we have also, how many
and-
fleet vehicles do we have?
And the fleet vehicles. And we've just improved or extended parking to 4 hours downtown. Where are all the staff going to park? And I'll tell you, if you've got any mobility issues, you don't want to be walking 3 or 4 blocks in the dead of winter with a walker to get to your job. So,
But you're right, there are a number of...
Alderperson?
anyway, that's all.
She did address that to me, so I was going to respond.
It did not appear to me that you addressed it to anyone in particular. If you made
saw
eye
the
contact, that's not you.
No.
Thank you. Any other relevant comments? Okay, the motion is to, oh, I'm sorry.
So I just looking through, you know, we have efficiency marked a lot. I'm looking to kind of dig into what that means in terms of, I understand the closeness, I understand the proximity, I understand the inner workings of identified departments. What I don't see that as is a translation to operational budgetary efficiency. I haven't seen that explicitly expressed that way. And so I guess I'm wondering about, you know, obviously the numbers presented lean me towards a new construction build. Not often are things as cut and dry as what's presented. And given the fact that, you know, we have a property that I think as it exists today is inadequate as a city hall. The unknowns, especially within the Stantec report, given that, and I think we've made reference to breaking ground in any capacity, seeing that, you know, we have that as a line item, we have that as something, you know, identified in a new construction area. That saying it's as cut and dry as identifying an area that has known potential contamination and assigning a line item to it, stating that, you know, I get it, we're only as good as what we can estimate. It gives me pause on being confident in making a decision with the financial impact like this without the ability to understand the efficiencies that are marketed as a pro, how those will play out and how those can potentially play out year after year after year. And I understand that, you know, making that translation is tough, and we will get efficiencies. But being more explicit in what that can look like, what that does look like, does that mean, downsizing? Does that mean we've become more efficient as a city staff, that we're finding, redundancy prior to being siloed off, prior to being, working within teams or silos that we do today? How do we get to a place of we are now more efficient and making that translating to this is what efficiency means? I think it's one thing to state we are becoming more efficient. I think it's another to apply that as a number. And so I think being able to state that as either a pro or a con, I see it at least, on 4 of these. I don't see that, and I understand the proximity argument. I understand the inner workings argument, but I don't think that translates when we're looking at same potential footprint, square footage wise, same potential budget year after year after year, and the knowledge of, budgets not increasing. And so I think it just has to be more of a consideration in that we can state that we are more efficient, but I think that has to have, real meaning behind it in some capacity.
Thank you, Alderperson. And for what it's worth, I can tell you that our department heads have had the 0% budget increase for the last 5 years. As far as staffing goes, they're about as lean as they can get. And that's based on the needs of those departments. Those were conveyed in the Bray study that was in, I think, 2018. Having the department adjacencies helps improve the efficiency of the way we operate. You probably won't see a direct cost savings based on that because of staff, because the staff are still going to be needed. But things that we talk about as efficiencies are, right now, if I want to get a bartender's license, I go to the clerk's office, fill out my application, and then I can go to the treasurer's office, and that's down the hall and around the corner, make my payment, take the receipt back to the clerk's office to get the permit. The same would be true for a building permit, going and filling out the paperwork. Well, you can do it online now, too. StevensPoint.com, by the way. Requesting a permit, going to the treasurer's office to fill those out and come back. We have 3 large copying machines. One's in the clerk's office, one is in the community development department, one is in the treasurer's office. Having things centralized will decrease the operational cost there by not needing 3 individual copiers, for example. And that's just a few of those things. If any of the department heads want to talk about those efficiencies that we've discussed over the years, you can certainly do that too. But as far as a significant impact, you're probably not going to see that in staffing because the departments are running about as lean as they can get. All right, Alder Morrow.
One last thing is that one thing I like about both options that we have is that we're not taking anything off the tax rolls. I know we talked about the Chase building in the past. We've even put a bid on that a couple of years ago. We haven't heard anything about that. A city hall right on the river would be great, but that would end up. It would look really, really nice, but that would also take that off the tax rolls, and that's prime real estate. And that is something that's also really appealing here. We're not taking anything away from our city, not any like prime real estate, anything like that.
Thank you. Alder Christensen.
And I think Alder Morrow brings up a good point, and I think that's another point to consider, that the property on 1039 Ellis after the swap then would be able to be put and developed and added onto the tax rolls to help offset the loss of tax revenue that would be incurred by bringing on Executive Place. I'm adamantly opposed to making a decision without completely considering all of them. I do think a time to get all the, and a chance for the council to take a look and actually have their own walkthrough so they can make a decision based on firsthand observation. I think it's important that we have a city hall. I don't think we need a Taj Mahal. And those are two different things. And I'm sure for $18 million, we'll have a really nice facility. I think we can get a really nice facility for less than half that price. And you hear about all the financial constraints that the departments have been operating under. I think you hear about the taxpayers on fixed incomes. I think we would be well served by making a good decision and not necessarily a quick one.
Thank you. The motion before you, again, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for indulging me on this. One of these things that when I'm looking at this, and from what I'm hearing, is if there's something that we're missing in the form of like all the city sites, all our facilities, and I've heard we're looking at tearing a building down and building a new one. I think about what have we not considered in a form of like even a parking lot. I'm like, is a lot just as a parking lot something we could, well, a city hall would fit there just nice. If we're going to start building new, when it's going to cost us close to $20 million when probably if it's all said and done, brownfield cleanups and all that kind of thing, possibly there. You don't really know. Well, some of those vacant parking lots that we have sitting there in our city inventory, I would like to see where they are first before I could say, all right, we're going to spend this kind of money.
Thank you. Alderperson, for the record, all of the city parking lots are available online?
Yes.
And
are we considering
every
that?
single one of them is used.
Wow. Okay, so my thought was, again, that Arlington Water intersection, right here, right next to that thing, that, is there enough space on, let's say, the west side of Water Street building? And we got the parking lot already there by the, is it the Historic Society, the old synagogue thing? And the, right there at 1039, if we're going to get that anyways, it sounds like we got parking. We could really think about a different way to design all in there, or just leave it the way it is. You got two parking lots at the corner of Arlington and Water.
I think I need to clear something up, Alderperson. If the 1039 site is not chosen, as County Executive Pavelski said, the land swap is likely to be revisited. The county still owns that property.
Saying, if this were to go forward, and we have, let's just call it that canvas of those lots to choose from, I think maybe the way we design that thing and lay that out maybe need to be looked at again.
Again. Okay, thank you. All right, if you are in favor of the motion.
Mr. Mayor, can we ask for the county executive to, when he made that statement, he wasn't aware that we were looking at an option that might be even quicker.
County executive, if you'd like to come and make some additional comments, I think we can allow that. If you need clarification on I believe the question is, if the county or the city chooses to not utilize 1039 Ellis, is the land swap still a thing?
If we had a quicker option.
A good friend of mine said, "Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not break." The city has always been a good partner with the county. We're trying to develop a relationship. I mean, we will work with you in any way, shape, or form. We want the best possible solution for the city and the county. But when we originally put the deal forth, the swap agreement, I had to work with our staff to make some concessions to get this swap agreement done. I really believe the city got a good deal. I wasn't about to argue over 5 feet this way or that way, or the county wasn't about to argue over 5 feet one way or the other, a nickel here or there. We have been wasting so much money by indecision. That's what I'm just asking you to do today is we can work with anything the city does. We are moving forward. We've got plans for an LEC, a jail, the plans for the renovation of the courthouse. We've created a debt policy. We're spending so much money that we're gonna take that debt policy up to the limit. And so the more information you can get us, the better we can plan, but we will plan accordingly with whatever happens that you decide. And we'll work with you as best we possibly can.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, County Executive. What do we got? Alder Guthrie.
Thank you. I want to say from this position, I'm a relatively new alder. It's been a frustrating and disappointing process. I really think that everyone has the best interests in mind in balancing cost of anything that we do to house our staff and our operations and service to our community, and to use our resources effectively. The staff, the mayor, council, our advisors like Somerville, who are expert in so many of these areas. It occurs to me that some of the uncertainty and frustration at the current time pinch and tight recommendations come because we might not have been at the table at all of the places that we would have liked to have been. Knowing that there were visioning exercises that council was not involved in. Not receiving a list of all facilities that the city currently owns for consideration while it was requested in reasonable time. Asking to entertain concepts where shared tools and resources are used by common departments not being entertained and considered in a way that yielded any sort of deference to those requests. So the sentiment is thick in the air, and I want to acknowledge it. At the same time, we need to move forward with something, and it feels icky to be forced into making a decision for time when we feel unsatisfied with what we've been provided. I am going to vote to move forward with the new City Hall today, but I do so with a lot of reservation, and I do so still wanting a full list of the facilities that the city owns. Still wanting a comprehensive list at where we can gain some efficiencies by shared operation. Wanting to have a more cooperative vision and a better sense of what we own that is meant to serve this community, and being able to look constituents in the eye and say, yes, I know the facilities that we own and they are all strategic. And yes, we have raised fees appropriate with what, thank you for the airport fee raise, good job. Setting fees that are equivalent to the cost of doing business. Clearing the roles of properties that we own that we do not need to own, right? Like these are reasonable requests of council that are
ignored.
That, yes, feel often ignored. And so I will vote to support a new build. I am grateful for the staff from Somerville for working diligently with staff and the mayor and providing us with the options that they have provided us with. I appreciate the county board working with us on the land swap that will allow us to move our operations and to have a great place for some of our staff to work for the next 50 to 100 years. But I do so holding my nose. I yield.
Thank you. All right, if you're in favor of the motion, you will vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Does anybody need the motion restated?
Restated.
The build new option. Okay. Clerk, please call that roll.
Morrow?
Aye.
Boozy?
No.
Thang?
No.
Shuda?
Aye.
Kneebone?
Aye.
Steinmetz?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Broderick?
Aye.
Keemer?
Aye.
Guthrie?
Aye.
And Christensen.
Absolutely no.
And I've got 8-3.
Yep.
That is approved. Item number 23 is approval for the proposal for design architectural services for City Hall with Somerville Architects and Engineers. Thank you again, Executive Pavelski, for coming out tonight. I appreciate you. I understand it's a very long meeting, and I'll come to any county board meeting you choose.
They're never that long.
Andrea Olson, you wish to speak on this?
What?
No, I'm not going to speak anymore because, the last architecture firm that had done the research was back in 2018, and they had a plan for new, and they weren't even considered as one of the architecture firms originally for doing a renovation or building new. And they already did a lot of work, so it brings me to question why they weren't ever considered. But if you're just going with somebody that you decided that didn't already do all that back work, I guess that you just go with this firm and they get a cut based on the final cost of the build, because that's how this works. The more expensive the build, the more expensive or the more money they get. So I guess they are the only option, so you gotta choose what you gotta choose.
Thank you. Thoughts, comments, or a motion?
So move, approve the proposal to design and architecture services for City Hall.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second. Go ahead,
We'll give
Dale.
the second to Steinmetz. Discussion.
Can we confirm that approval of this motion is contingent on the last one, since we're looking at both a new building agreement and a remodel?
Yes.
Example.
So for clarification, we weren't sure if the council wanted to choose the build new or remodel option. So both contracts were drawn up. This is only to approve the architectural design work going forward with the new option.
Okay, just wanted to confirm that for the record since the motion hadn't.
That's a good clarification. Thank you. Any other comments? Comments from the audience? Seeing and hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Christensen?
No.
Guthrie?
Aye.
Keemer?
Aye.
Broderick?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Steinmetz?
Aye.
Kneebone?
Aye.
Shuda?
Aye.
Lang?
No.
Boozy?
No.
And Morrow.
Aye.
And that is approved. Item number 24 is discussion on the below closed session item, negotiating an amendment with the developers agreement in TID 10. Logan, you want to take this one, starting it off or not? I don't know why we're talking about it before we go into closed session. We talked about it last week.
Yes, just for an opportunity, if the applicant or the developer was here.
I see.
For a chance for him to talk about anything on the project in open session, and then we go into close. But since the developer does not appear to be here, we can skip over that item and go into close.
Understood. I wasn't quite sure why this was. I understand we talked about why we wanted an open session, but since I didn't see the applicant here or the developer here, I didn't know if we needed it. So, item number 25 will be to enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes. No action on 24, by the way. 19.85 sub 1 sub E for deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing public funds, or conducting other specified business wherever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session relating to the following: negotiating an amendment to a developer's agreement in Tax Incremental District 10. Get a motion to go into closed session. We will be going back into open session, Seth, so you don't get to go to sleep yet. But I do need you to make sure the streaming and everything is turned off. I don't think we'll bring back the Zoom session either. Looks like people have been on since item number 9. So if there's any objection to either of our two remote visitors, we will not be resuming the Zoom session. I see no objection there, but we will go into open session and it will be recorded.
I make a motion to move into closed.
Moved by Keemer to go into closed session.
I'll second.
Seconded by Kneebone. Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll for that.
Christensen?
Justin, thank you.
Aye.
Guthrie?
Aye.
Keemer?
Aye.
Broderick?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Steinmetz?
Aye.
Kneebone?
Aye.
Shuda?
Aye.
Lang?
Aye.
Boozy,
Aye.
and Morrow.
Aye.
We are back in open session. Is there a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve option 4, that which was forwarded as a recommendation from Finance.
Thank you. Seconded by
I will second that, yep.
Discussion there? Comments from the audience? Seeing and hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Christensen,
Aye.
Guthrie,
Aye.
Keemer,
Aye.
Broderick,
Aye.
Burr,
Aye.
Steinmetz,
Aye.
Kneebone,
No.
Shuda,
Aye.
Lang,
Nope.
Boozy,
Aye.
and Morrow.
Aye.
And that is approved. Director Kivala, could you send an email to the developer letting them know of our vote for tonight's meeting? Our agenda is exhausted. It is 10:55 and we stand adjourned.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.